A lot of research put into this one here. I put a lot of research into the last one too, but it's actually getting crazier and crazier. It's this story can go on for months. It's just where I want to go with it, and I just want to do like one more episode. We started off with the mystery of anti-gravity as far as the origin, which it seems like it came from Germany, but we will continue to unravel this mystery. We left off somewhere around speaking about I'm gonna call it the cola. It could be collar. It could be collar device. Cola device. I don't know. I did have some grammar police in the last episode. Here's the thing. And I don't even think I mentioned this the first episode, right? This is a 3-part series, by the way. So if you're watching this and you're like, oh, this looks interesting, then I already did an episode before this, right? That spoke about more of the esoteric part of this whole story, because this story starts with esoteric knowledge. It starts with it. It's no way around it. Some people got mad at me last episode because, hey, if you just want to stick to the history, I am sticking to the history. You just want to hear what you want to hear, and that's always the problem. That's always the problem. So I can't help you people who only want to hear what you want to hear, because mainstream science didn't write it down. But we're going to talk about all of that today, because there are a group of people out here that just think that you are not, I'm not going to say smart enough, but you're not special enough to know everything that's going on the earth. You don't think that? You think that the people who run the planet would willy-nilly give out all the information, true or false, well, mainly true, that's the one you worried about, true information to just everybody? Let me tell you something. I've been on the internet for maybe 4 years. I don't know, 4 years or something like that. And I've met the most random, weirdest people ever in my life. And I've been on this planet close to 50 years. And I've never in my life ran across this many weird ass people. Right? Never mind what I'm talking about with aliens. That's not weird at all. The Bible talking about aliens. Right? I'm talking about other stuff. Just weird business. But I was accused of being weird when I didn't stick to the mainstream story the other day. Yo, check this out. You don't have to come and listen. You could go anywhere else and you could go listen to I don't care, bro. If I haven't told you that by now, I don't even care. Right? This is for those, this is for a selective few. You may not even be in the selective few, right? And that's why tonight I made it only if you are a member of the channel. Subscribed, not a member, but subscribe to the channel, where you'll be able to comment. Now, shout out to the replay gang, by the way. So collar device. I'll give shout outs in a second. But what I found interesting, I didn't mention this the other night. The motor could extract energy from the ambient vacuum in outer space, as well as convert the Earth's gravitational energy into electromagnetic power to create this anti-gravity. Excuse me. Okay, and it was good. We have to look more into that, but not yet. Not this episode. But I do want to do a show just on. That might need a few episodes. I'm not even sure, because they was talking about free energy again. I think that's what they nicknamed it, free energy, right? So between this Hans Kohler, or Kohler, and excuse me if I'm not saying it right, and Nikola Tesla, we should have had, I'm going to be very honest with you, we should have had free energy by now. Shout out to Dr. Stephen Greer, who produced the documentary, The Lost Century, right? We should have been ahead by now. But we keep being regressed by the elite for whatever reason. Now, this is kind of where we left off. Oh, Uncle Andy has been looking into the bell. He says it's very interesting. Yo, check this out. Tonight's show. I think it's perfect right before we get to the last video I do in this series, which is the next one. Is going to focus on the American part of this story. So we started in Germany. Well, actually, we started in Japan and Germany, if we're being totally honest, which there's no way around that. I could have went further, but I didn't want to lose so many potential listeners, because I know the cognitive dissonance that they're going to go through dealing with the part about the occult and the esoteric knowledge. I know they're going to struggle with that, right? Some people, I've analyzed enough people to realize, okay, they're very streamlined. They don't consider anything else. It's almost like zeros and ones. It's like they are androids. And if the person in the white coat didn't say it, then it never happened, and you're talking gibberish, right? If they didn't write it and you can't look it up on Google, it never happened, bro. And you're just talking craziness. So I think I did good, to be honest with you, by bringing up the black dragons, the green dragons, the Society of Green Men, the Thule Society, Helena Blavatsky. I mean, I could have went further, because just like the black dragon had an inner circle, which is the green dragon, then when it comes to the Thule Society, they have an inner circle, and I didn't even get to that, which is the black sun. But I didn't get to that, and I don't know if I'm gonna get to it in this series. So maybe that's just gonna be that's gonna have to be a separate video. I don't mind getting into the esoteric at all, but they did have a inner fold where they even got more into the esoteric. Now, here's the thing. This is why I had to mention them. There was a purpose I mentioned the fact that Hitler was involved in some real esoteric ritual secret society stuff, but he wasn't the only one. It was his mentors were, his comrades were, right? And when someone tells me something like, "Yo, just tell the story," I'm looking at you like, "Yo, bro, what are you deaf? I am telling this story. Oh, I'm not telling you what you want to hear? That's what you're saying? No, just stick to the history. Dumb. This is the history. This is a history. What are you talking about?" That's your problem. You want to just pull out whatever you want to pull out. It don't work like that, my boy. That's been the problem. Now, I think the bigger question is not whether they was involved in any of this esoteric stuff and speaking to people astrally. I think the bigger question is, did it work? That might be the bigger question, my boy. Was whatever they into, did it work? Keep it 1,000 with you. Germany was light years ahead of everybody, and I'm gonna prove that tonight. In the end, if Japan was the catalyst for bringing in Germany so that they can pull off this Lieberstrom, which is the expansion of their nation into other nations. Oh, it backfired on Japan, right? Because when you look at it, and energy is cyclical, they empowered Germany and tried to play Geppetto as a secret empowerment, right? And what happened in the end? Hiroshima got blown to pieces with the same technology that they empowered Germany to receive. Crazy. Right? We'll get there. Eventually, America would get their hands on it. Russia would get... we'll talk about that. Oh, that gets tricky. America would get their hands on it. Let's just keep it there. So that's where we kind of started. Just giving an overview of where we starting off now. This is part 2 of the series Above Top Secret. Now we're going to deal with Antarctica. And there's a lot. To be honest with you, I could have kept on going in the first video. So chances are that I could keep going in this video, but I'm not. So we're going to find a reasonable hour to just be like, all right, we shutting it off. Here's a pre-warning. No matter what you hear, video 3 is going to be members only, even alive, members only. And I'm telling everybody that so that you could go ahead and get your membership ahead of time. Now, I will be talking about the Majestic 12 in the last video, right? I'll be giving out a lot of information, but it will be members only. I'm going to keep it 1,000 with you. So, I want to start the record right from the giddy up. Admiral Donitz, he made a statement at the Nuremberg trial. And this was his statement. He said, an invisible fortification, the Reich kept, he said, the Reich kept an invisible fortification in the midst of the eternal ice. What did he mean by that? And he wasn't the only one to be out here running his mouth about this ice and what was inside the ice and what was going on. He wasn't the only military person, and it wasn't only German people out here. So before you be like, oh, he was just trying to throw the Americans off. Yo, is this mic hot? Which one is my mic? This one? Yo, it was Americans out here talking crazy too, so easy. It was American military people out here talking crazy. And I'm not even talking about William Cooper, the great William Cooper. You heard me? William Cooper might have some stuff in here, but I didn't even look in this book for my research. Let's see what he got to say. Hold on. Treason in high places. UFOs in Area 51. Alien implants. Don't worry, I'm not going to read none of this tonight. It's too late. It didn't make it to my slides. But I should have read it. It might have been good. Anyway. I just wanted you to know at the Nuremberg trials, this statement was made by a surrendered Nazi. He said that the Reich had an invisible fortification in the midst of the eternal ice. And I'm saying that because no matter what I say after this point, because it's going to sound crazy, some of this stuff, I just wanted to you open your mind. Like, wait a minute. They said that? Yeah, they said that. That being said, let us move on. Brief history of recorded Antarctica explorations. Now, I didn't really want to throw this guy in there because it's debatable, his validity. However, I can't complain about the people that's coming over that's serious about scholarship. Even Thornton. Shout out to Thornton. He's another one. He wants to read. It's not that I always show you resources, but I do appreciate you guys. You question me whether I'm just picking this stuff up out of the barbershop. I'm not, but I appreciate the fact that you don't trust me. You should not. And I say, you know what? I don't want to waste time with a lot of comments about people being skeptic about this, that, and the third, and people not focusing on what they should be focusing on. So if he's going to come up in the conversation, let me just mention this guy, John Davis. Allegedly, he was a sealer. He wasn't a like explorer, nothing like that. He was just a sealer, American sealer. And by a sealer, I think they hunted seals for their, value, whatever it was, the skin or the oils or whatever. When did this take place? 1821. Some say he was the first to land on Antarctica. It's debatable. My video is not about who was the first, so it really don't matter to me. He wasn't state sponsored. He was a commercial sealer. He kept logs. And in one of his logs, it's noted as being said, "I think this southern land to be a continent." And there you go. Right? Going back to 1821. Now, let's get on to some names that we do know pretty well. Captain James Cook. Uncle Andy said he wants to know what's going on under the ice. Do you? Or do you want to know what's going on in Antarctica? Because there's a lot going on under the ice in Antarctica, but it's not only under the ice. It's on the whole continent of Antarctica. Which some say really shifted. Some say that wasn't even there before the last time there was a shift of the continents. Crustal displacement. Some say that might be the old Atlantis. Anyway, we're going to find out some of the things that's going on. But first, I got to set the tone. You know that. I got to give dates because the dates matter. That's why I'm giving the dates tonight. The dates matter. Because all right, so many people have this conversation. Many. But shout out to the people. And it's not that I'm saying that no one ever did it. I haven't really watched anybody do this type of show. One of the YouTube shows that I watch, the What If Files, they do stuff on the stuff I think about all the time, and it's like they read in my brain. So we be on the same frequency. So more than likely, he already did this. However, he does this thing where he acts like he'll tell you a whole story, and then the logic will lead you somewhere, and then at the end, he's like, yeah, I don't believe none of that, though. So he does that, and I hate that. Because the logic leads somewhere, and then for you to just throw out the word conspiracy theory is ridiculous. I think people overuse conspiracy theory like I think they overuse anti-Semitic. Like, keep it up, and then the words would mean nothing, which basically now they both mean the value that the estimate of shit because you've overused them so much. Everything is a conspiracy, and then people find out the truth, and then it's like, okay, how can you really still use that word with any type of confidence? But you do, because that's who you are. 1772 to 1775, the first to reach the Arctic waters. Who is this? This was a British Royal Navy explorer. What was his name? Captain James Hook. First human to cross the Antarctic Circle. Circumnavigated Antarctica at high southern latitudes. However, it is said that he never saw the continent itself, and it just might have been too dangerous with the ice. But he did prove that this place existed. And I guess at the time there were some rumors about the place not existing and it just being warm in these regions. So he proved otherwise. Then, this guy gets a lot of credit. The first confirmed sightings. Fabian Gottlieb. I won't try to butcher that last name. I will. I'm just saying I won't. Of course I will try to butcher the last name. Fabian Gottlieb von Belsinghausen. Russian. Alright? Part of the Imperial Navy. He's widely credited as the first human to see the Antarctic mainland. His logs, his coordinates, his ice descriptions match the continental shelf. So he gets a lot of respect in that area. And as you can see, I marked the date, 1820, for a reason. Because I want these dates to stick in your head so you have a logical sense of when things happened. Mainly so that you can see when America was not involved, barely involved, and then when it just took off like, and why did that happen? But I won't even have to tell you if you're paying attention to the video. You're going to figure it out. Germany conducted two major legitimate Antarctic expeditions before World War I. Once in 1901, 2 years, each expedition was 2 years. So it was from 1901 to 1903, and then 1911 to 1913. Why did they do this? These were scientific and geopolitical. They were interested in what? Earth magnetism, okay, continental structure, ice dynamics. This is important for you to know before we even get anywhere with this story. Because so far, what do we have? Do we have any serious... And we got names being thrown around like Captain Cook, but Captain Cook didn't really... He didn't even see the continent itself. He circumnavigated the Antarctica, right? So that's kind of primitive. And even Gottlieb, we giving him credit, but credit for what? Did you go there and do any scientific research? He didn't do any. So at this point, nobody's doing any real research on this continent. All we have done up until this point is acknowledge that we found this continent again, because this planet been here for billions of years. How do we know it's been here for billions of years? Because it takes billions of years for gold to form. So this you must have been here for billions of years. So I doubt that there wasn't a civilization that never knew about it. But if people, or should I say, if entities stop playing around with history, rewriting history, burning history, throwing history out, changing it, writing what they want, then we wouldn't have to keep going through this. But it appears that they keep resetting history every couple of thousand years. Why? Because they don't want you to know the truth. And they know 85% of y'all are deaf, dumb, and blind. And y'all just going to believe whatever y'all told, right? We get that. So the first real scientific research for this dispensation, we're going to give that to Germany off the bat. Now, this is 1901, 1911, 1913. We're nowhere close to World War II. We're nowhere close. We're nowhere close to Roswell. We're nowhere close. And it's not that people have not been reporting any type of UFOs or aliens before these dates. They've been reporting all the way back to the Egyptians, all the way back before that. What do you think the story about the Bible is about? It's about aliens. However, we're not talking about that tonight. We're talking about this dispensation. Let's just deal with this dispensation. We giving the credit, serious inquiries into Antarctica, getting the data and all that goes to Germany, hands down. That's going to be important. And this is way before the Nazis even existed. B. Dolo was good. B. Dolo's in the house. Is B. Dolo in the house? New York's in the house. California, you're in the house. The first expedition, 1901 to 1903, the Gauss expedition, leader Erich von Drygalski, ship the Gauss, purpose geophysics. Yo, I ain't gonna hold you. I was kind of thinking, yo, what was the United States thinking about? And as I'm sitting here asking you guys right now, I think they were so preoccupied with the slaves that I think they paid less attention to the sciences, right? You had everybody just trying to capitalize off of the United States and become instant billionaires, right? Whether it was oil, whether it was coal, whether it was steel, whether it was cotton, whether it was slave labor, the people that were here were either trying to survive, right? So they don't got time to worry about the sciences. And then the other people who were controlling the others that were here, I don't think they foreseen like science being making that much of a difference. I think the culture was grunt work, right? I'm gonna get out here and I'm gonna drill in this land. I'm gonna figure it out, right? Where we gotta go? We gotta go to the valleys and search for gold. Some people were searching for gold. Some people were searching for oil. Everybody kind of got it how they lived. They got it how they lived. I want to know why Germany was even thinking on that level in 1901 and was nobody else. Well, clearly, I'm asking the question, and you can say, no, we were, but if the evidence isn't there, then we wasn't, right? You can't tell me, no, America was. Okay, where were you? Where's the evidence that you were focused on geophysics, magnetism, meteorology? I don't see the evidence. Tell me anything. You didn't even respect Nikola Tesla when he came, right? It was all give me, right? Thomas Edison. If he can't, not only Thomas Edison, but Morgan too. If I can't put a meter on it, I don't want it. All of the big names, Westinghouse, all of them disrespected this genius. Then, like the common thugs that they were, they robbed them and stole from them. Allegedly. Let me say alleged before YouTube gets offended and takes my channel and not do something stupid with the video. Allegedly. Let's move on, because that was the first expedition. We got other stuff to get into. But I just want you to know where my mind is at. Germany was already there. Mentally. Alright, the second expedition, 1911 and 1913. This is a different guy in charge now. Filchner. His ship is the Deutschland. The goal, determine whether Antarctica was one continent or two separate land masses. They're on it. What I'm trying to get you to understand before you say anything about Germany not being or having an elaborate base in Antarctica. When I say elaborate, you know what I'm talking about. Oh yeah, you know what I'm talking about. There's rumors of there being bases inside the mountain. The more you read and get into this story, it doesn't seem that crazy. If you don't read this story at all, if you don't if you don't really get into it, if you don't separate the dates and all of this, it sounds nuts. Like, wait, there's you have what, where? There's how many people there? In Antarctica? Good sir, I think you've been watching too many movies. No, that's because either they didn't teach us this, which they could have. Again, I'm not going to blame the Board of Education, because I'm going to tell you something. I was out to lunch the whole 12 years I was in school. I was out to lunch. I was not paying attention. I probably only graduated because they said no child left behind. If they said child left behind, I wasn't going to graduate. So I won't blame the Board of Ed. However, I did find some research where they were still trying to hide the truth. We'll get to it. Particularly about Byrd. There's some evidence out there that's saying that later on he did help Hitler in consultation about Antarctica. But then there's some that say, no, that never happened. Whatever. I digress. Let me focus on this. We didn't even get to Admiral Byrd yet. We will. What do I want you to walk away with this information? This is what I want you to walk away with. Germany spent 4 years out there. Within a decade, right? First, 1901 to 1903. Then they went back in 1911 and spent 2 more years there. They spent 2 years there the first time, came back 2 more years. What do you do? 2 years in Antarctica? Whatever they found there, it was worth going back for another 2 years. That's all I'll say. I don't know what they found there. I'm not going to say what they found and elude you to think they found whatever. No. I'm telling you, whatever they found there, obviously, they said, yo, let's go back. Let me catch a breath. Let me take a nap. Huh? Get out here and mess with some of these chicks. And then we back on it. Let's talk about the Americans. Where was America? 1838, 1842. You got something called the Wilkes Expedition. Who was the leader? Charles Wilkes. What was he part of? The U.S. Navy. Was there anything particular that he did? Well, he charted 1,500 miles of the Antarctic coastline. Asserted the existence of Antarctica continent. Okay. Can we compare their effort to Germany? Honestly, I'm not asking you to be a traitor to your country. I'm just asking an honest question. When Germany went there, they spent 2 years there and they had a purpose. They had a laundry list of things that they were interested in. To tell you the truth, these things seem very significant. Very specific. Earth magnetism. What? I don't know why the United States might have went out there on some nosy shit. Who knows? They out here some, yo, let's just see what's going on. Right? Either way, they sent somebody so they could be in the books. Fine, you in the books. You in the books is jacking off, more than likely spending United States money to go and jack off in the cold. So you can tell us the difference. Now, when you jack off at room temperature, it's totally different. I'm telling you, you got to get out to Antarctica. Right? But don't get frozen, because then it gets embarrassing. Somebody has to come out. They got to help you. You're in a compromised position. It looks nuts, right? It does. It does look nuts that you went out there and just cruised the coastline of Antarctica and people was out here doing real scholarship. It looks crazy. But I digress. And that was 1838 to 1842. But just like they said in Dumb and Dumber, just when I think you can't do anything stupider, you totally redeem yourself. Huh? Admiral Richard E. Byrd, Antarctic Expedition, 1928 to 1930. Okay. I think they might be joining the party. That's what I think. I think they might be joining the party, United States. Like, yo, let's try to take this serious. Now, what did they do? What did he do? Let's put some respect on Admiral Richard Byrd's name. He established a permanent American presence in Antarctica. He pioneered the use of an aircraft for Antarctic exploration, meaning he flew over it, seeing what's going on down here. He conducted scientific observations, including meteorology, geology, and magnetism. About time. You kind of late to the party. Let's see, almost 100 years? Almost 90 years. You're wildin'. Hold on. No, not 90 years. Just a few years. All right. Now, Admiral Byrd, he created He carved out an acre or two. The first time he went, he carved out an acre or two, and he called it Little America, right? So everybody's happy. They're like, yo, we got land in Antarctica. Good job, man. Tested out the radio communications, seen if they could be used in this type of temperature. So he got some data. I think he was the only one taking it serious. So he did that November 29, 1929, right? Pay attention to the dates, y'all. Pay attention to the dates and pay attention to the accomplishments. Because we're going to see who was jacking off in a second and who wasn't jacking off. And it's going to be very evident who was not jacking off and who was jacking off. Right? Who was scared. He went back again. And almost killed himself. Right? He spent 5 months. He spent 5 months alone in some type of base, but it obviously had to be a small base because I guess he was running some type of well, I don't know if he was running that. They said he was poisoned himself with carbon monoxide. But he was trying to, what they call overwinter, like do it over the winter. He did get a deeper understanding of the climate, atmospheric physics, and ice behavior. But I'm not gonna crap on him too bad because he tried, bro. He tried, and it wasn't fully supported by the military. Meaning they gave him little grant money. He had little grant money from the U.S. Navy, and then he had private donors, American donors, who were pretty much wealthy industrialists who were looking to see. These are capitalists, so you already know. I don't have to explain to you what they were looking to do, but they didn't want to pay. Like, nobody wants to pay, right? So they all chipped in, give him a little something for the expedition. He went out there with a skeleton crew, but I don't know. The crew must have been real skeleton, like just him himself, because, like I said, he almost died from carbon monoxide poisoning, and he wrote a book called Alone, so it's in his book. But yeah, he was like, he was alone for like 5 months at a base. And then some people finally came to get him. Thank God he got out of it. I don't know how he survived. I'm going to be honest with you. Now, here's what I want you to walk away. Because the story's about to get crazy. But I want you to use your logic. You have to use your logic. The reason I'm showing you these dates and the reason I'm pointing out everyone's accomplishments is because, okay, it jumps. Somewhere it jumps to things getting crazy. Now, no one, out of everything I told you, I'm just telling you as it was reported. Nothing, and I could believe Byrd's assessment of things, and you're going to see why in a second. So if Byrd said, yo, wasn't a lot going on, champ, I was there, he's not lying. How do we know he's not lying? Because when there was something going on, Byrd was the first to say, yo, shit is crazy. I ain't never seen this. He was the first one to say these things. So that leads me to believe when you went out there, there was nothing happening, Jack. But you didn't go out there on your own volition. He didn't go out there on his own volition. He had the National Geographic Society backing him. He had all type of corporate sponsors from Ford and other companies backing him. The U.S. Navy backing him. Private donors, probably from the wealthy elite. I'm sure Rockefeller, amongst others. Hey, we'll all chip in. How it ended up with him almost killing himself from carbon monoxide, I don't know. I wasn't there, bro. And I'm going to keep it real. I could go into the Akashic Records and go see, but I don't want to. For a number of reasons. It's too cold, and I don't know what I'm going to find there that I don't want to see. Now, we're gonna jump date wise. We're gonna jump to 1938. We're gonna bring it up. This is where things start to get really interesting. Hold on one second. Let me just check something real quick. All right, doing good. All right, cool. All right, 1938. So let's see here. We jumped from, when did this take place? We went from 1933, which was his second expedition, to 1935. And then we jump into 1938, which is excellent. This is excellent because it shows you wasn't shit going on. Everybody done been out there at this point. Nobody got the Russians been out there. The British been out there. America's been out there. Nothing's going on, right? Nothing's going on, right? Y'all with me? Okay. (1938), preceding the start of World War II, Germany sent an expedition to Antarctica to scout out a location for a military base there. Now, mind you, they already been there. They spent more time there than anybody else on the globe. The Germans found such a location in the Queen Maud Land, which Germany renamed New Schwabenland. Now, they scouted over 230,000 square miles of the continent. They mapped it out from the air. They found vast regions that were free from ice, and they also found warm water lakes. Now, a second ago, Uncle Andy said, I want to know what was going on under the ice. They said some crazy stuff was going on under the ice. I might show some videos later. All type of stuff. However, I'll try to stick to the things that we can go back and at least hear from some of the SS Nazi soldiers that surrendered. And we'll get into that story in a second. Allegedly, they even found a cave that extended 30 miles into it got to a geothermal lake. I'm going to tell you something. I believe this, right? You don't have to believe it. It's free world. I do believe it. And the story is going to get even crazier. We didn't even get nowhere yet, trust me. Because there's all type of documents out there. And there's all type of... There were several operations by different countries that we're going to get into today. So some of these people, I don't know if this was a time before they had people signing NDAs, but it was like people was just getting out the military and just running their mouth. It was nuts. So in 1942, a base was built in the, Mullig-Hoffman Mountains. Base 211 or Station 211. The base was supplied with slave laborers. We'll get to that. Shipped by sea and U-boats to construct an elaborate cave complex deep within the mountains. Impregnable fortress. Now, before you say, I don't know about that, that sounds crazy, let me go right back up to where I started. Right here. Admiral Donitz, one of the officers that surrendered, said in a statement at the Nuremberg trial that the Reich kept an invisible fortification in the midst of the eternal ice. What is these guys got to lie about? They at the Nuremberg trial. I'm not going to sit here and make things up. I may act coy and act like, hey, you know what I'm saying, I don't give a shit. But most of these guys was happy to be given a second chance. And we'll get to all of that in a second. So, like I said, I know how your brain works. That cognitive dissonance starts kicking in, and you don't want to believe nothing that sounds other than what you've been told. I get it. However, now the guy who ran the slave laborers, there was a lot of Hanses in this story. Hold on, let me find out which Hans it was. This guy, Kamler. Hans Kamler. I told you this guy was crazy last video. But Kamler was in charge of getting the slave labor. But I did write that here. Hans Kamler was among the worst of the Nazis. He was responsible for the construction of Hitler's slave labor sites in concentration camps. Angie was good. I didn't know if he was going to find us. You understand? I didn't know. I was worried. I said, I don't know if Angie will find us. I know Uncle Andy will find us. Some of these people, that's their time. You understand? This is their time. Pretty Divine and Kush should be getting off work soon. What time is it? Yeah, it's 7. It's 4 o'clock over there. Lisa Ann, I don't know. Said, I don't know about Lisa Ann. I didn't know about Roby. But you found us. You here now, girl. You here now. Let's go. Let's go. Kamler was a piece of work. Now, this is why. Now you understand why I had to break this up into 3 different videos. I can't do this in one video because we need to go back and see what I had already said. Now, this is a 3-part series right here. Right? And it's all working out logically now that we think about it. Oh, you all right? We ain't that far, and you gonna be able to catch up just fine. The subject is still. This is a 3-part series, Angie. So, subject condensed. It's my representative. Give me a second. This is a congressman. Hello. They usually call me when I want to see if I want to sit in on something and listen to something and do a question A. I just seen him in the news. So, but I'll figure out what they was doing a Q&A about later. What really kicked this off was, what was it? Electromagnetic anti-gravity technology allegedly given to these humanoids known as Homo sapiens sapiens from another humanoid species, right? And that's really what all of this is about. What we call aliens. This whole 3-part series is what we call about the technology that we might have gotten from aliens. But I would rather do it this way. Because a lot of people, they act like I just be talking fringe conversations, right? I don't even like these words, fringe. I don't like these words. Pseudoscience. Again, they're overused. And they're used to weaponize any type of logic and reason these conversations that might come up to actually lead you to the truth. Then they throw in these type of words here. Oh, that's conspiracy theory. Hey, Funguli, your mother's a conspiracy theory. What's the matter for you? Conspiracy theories. So, I have way more fun doing it the academic way anyway. I love the research. I'm a nerd, bro. I can't wait to research. Let's go. Yes, Roby. Reverse engineering. Yes. 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 We do it this way. We do it their way. You understand? Because YouTube got slick. And everybody just give me 2 minutes for a sidebar. YouTube got slick. Right? So if they think you're talking fringe or anything that could lead you to some like off the beaten path, but still be making, oh, they don't like that. They don't like that, right? So they try to nitpick at or cherry pick at your words, and then I get an email saying, yo, this video right here can't be blase, blase, blah. Yo, this video right here is blocked because you said da 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 da. Yeah, I don't even know. Right? So I just, every time they do that to me, I take and I learn from it, and then I come back, right? Cool. And then I'll be real selective with my wording. You want me to do it that way? Fine. It teaches me not to get off up here and be rambling off. But guess what? There's so much actual information that actually happened. I don't even have to be shooting from the hip like my name is Wyatt Earp, bro. It's the stuff that we're going to go over is so crazy. It's like, yo, this really happened? Oh, I got enough info. This is why I don't understand. There's a lot to talk about. I'm just glad I'm not in a position where I have to get out here and be gossiping about people just to keep my YouTube channel going. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. You understand? God forbid I'm out here just waiting for something bad to happen to somebody else so that I could get a couple of views on a video. Are you kidding me? Anyway, this dude was a piece of work. And he was the one. Now let's go back to the slide about the slave labor in the mountains. He was the one. Let's read this again. The base was supplied with slave laborers shipped by sea and U-boats to construct an elaborate cave complex deep within the mountains. Right? So is it making sense now? Because I started off with one of the SS officers saying, yo, yeah, we got an invisible fortress in the mountains. Who built this invisible fortress? Slaves. White slaves. I don't think that's going to make the black people feel any better. They're not looking for reparations from Europe. They're looking for reparations for the shit they built in this country, and they want the respect, like JJ Wentworth. Yeah. Like JJ Wentworth. It's their money, and they want it now. And they're right. Give them some respect. It's just not right to wait. Don't wait on it, because once you see who these people are, they're not going to get... These people are different, Jack. I'm telling you right now. And if you keep watching my show, I'm going to show you everything I've been telling you about the different humanoids down here. There's a group of people down here called the Ethereals. Oh, we're not going to get about it. We're not going to talk about it now. You hear me? These people already knew. The American presidents already met these, allegedly, entities. And the Ethereals, they look like me and you. They just taller and white. But I've been telling you there's different type of humanoid species down here. But I get people over here that don't want to listen because of their cognitive dissonance. But either way, it don't matter. Let's go. Hot internal springs were found there. iron ore deposits, vegetation, and access was achieved primarily through an underwater trench that ran through the area. So this is what the Germans had found going back once they set up a base, right? So just to wrap this slide up, 1938, the Germans went back. But what I showed you so far is that really Germany had more skin in the game, what they call skin in the game, than in any other nation, more than Russia, more than China, more than anybody. United States was dicking off, been dicking off. But ever since they found a little bit of oil in the ground, they went crazy. They went ham. They found steel. They started doing railroads. They wanted to they did not want to let go of the black people being slaves, but after the invention of the cotton gin, it really was like, all right, it might look inhumane at this point, because what is going to be the real excuse for having all these goddamn slaves? Like, just let's set them free and make money off of them. Shit had nothing to do with civility at all. Right? They didn't give a shit about the Chinaman. He got over here. He was already hooked on dope. They worked his poor little fingers. His poor little fragile fingers to the grip. Huh? They got your boy out there too, Ray. Yeah. They put him out there on the chain gang too. He's out there on the railroads with his ponytail. White man was devious. White man was devious against other fucking white men. It was crazy. They became religious fanatics. I kind of respect what the Mormons did, meaning they took over certain places in the United States. I don't respect how they did it, though. They was out here killing other good white folk. God damn. Huh? And acting like they was Indians. Cold-blooded. Shit. It was wicked. No respect. That's why I say this is a dangerous land, Jack. But nothing could be more horrible than the genocide of over 1 million Native Americans, and you can't even find one now. I know where they at because I drive trucks, so I could just take you to where they all 12 of them is in New Mexico. Drunk right now, I could take you there. It's nothing to see. It's over. It's over. Right? You got white people out here talking about they fucking Cherokee. And oh no, my great-grandfather, shut up! Your great-grandfather's not Cherokee. Shut up. Shut up. Nobody believes you. Just shut up. Just stop. You fucking killed all the Indians, bro. Just knock it off. God damn. All of them? All of them. It's crazy. Anyway, let's get back to this before I get fucking upset about that. During the war, especially the latter part, German U-boats made frequent trips to South Atlantic, South America, and Antarctica. Germany also set up floating meteorological buoys in Antarctic waters and weather stations on islands located between Antarctica and the tip of South America. Right? The SS Russia, which when you translate that from German to English, it means Race and Settlement Main Office. What was their job? Well, their job was to see if you were ethnically qualified to fit in the program for this relocation, right? Because remember, you have to watch the first video they get into the genetics of who you are, right? Are you one of the original Aryans? Are you from the Nordic Atlanteans? And most of these people that you see in these photos, they wasn't. This is why this is so bugged out. Most of the people that you see in these photos, when I show you the photos of, the Nazis, you could clearly see, in my opinion, allegedly, you could clearly see they had Jewish and Ashkenazi Jewish ancestry. Clearly. So these were delusional people who were easily impressed by rhetoric, right? I mean, if your book tells you that the descendants of the Atlantean Nordics were tall, white, blue-eyed, and blonde hair, nigga, you're neither one. You're none of those things. You might be kind of white, but you kind of look like a gypsy, right? You just look like your natural skin color is like a dirty white boy, like you've been playing in the dirt all day, right? That's your natural. But you don't look. You're not blonde. You're not blue-eyed. And you have the ability to grow some ridiculous mustache that nobody else, that a true Atlantean would never dream about growing his fucking mustache in this form. Never. It's ridiculous and crude. Ugh. What? How'd you do that? He got soul glow on his shit. He was using the science to do stupid shit. Everybody else in Germany taking the science seriously, trying to figure shit out with the thermodynamics. He's out here trying to use the science to bush out his fucking. And I just want to grow the shit like right here. God forbid they don't get it right. He's sending them to the gas chamber till they get it right. And they got it right. Salute to them. This shit was hideous in the end. But it was exactly the way he wanted it. Now, this SS Russia, which was the Race and Settlement Main Office, began in 1942 to take women of Aryan descent from the Ukraine solely for the purpose of transporting them to base 211, right? So you get 10,000 women. They took 10,000 women between the ages of 17 and 24, blonde and well-proportioned, were recruited for the project along with 2,500 Waffen SS soldiers serving in Russia. Jesus Christ. The goal of this massive undertaking was to create a colony at Base 211 suitable for habitation and continued development of the Thule real technology. Now, if you want to know what that technology is, you're going to have to really go back and watch episode 1, where we talk about the mystery of the German anti-gravity technology. And I get into that esoteric stuff. I don't think I'm going to delve into that this show. I mentioned it for a reason. Go back and watch it. Leave a comment. You understand? Can I sidebar first? I have no idea how I'm getting so many views on this video. So many likes. That video got 251 likes. I have 4 fucking comments. And I'm not paying Indians for subscribers. So I'm like, what is going on? Are people just watching? They're like, yeah, that was a cool video. Bonk. And then nobody has questions? Am I doing that good of a job that nobody has questions? Like, nobody's fucking questioning me? Don't let me get away with this shit. Don't let me just get on the internet and say whatever the fuck I want. Get in that comment section and say something. Call me a liar, something, goddammit. Actually, Thornton he's been doing a good job at that. Shout out to Thornton. He called me a fucking fool the last time we spoke. Yeah, he's pushing back. It is believed that both the Thule and Vril, I don't know how to say that German word, Gesellschafts, evacuated that technology to base 211 at the close of the war under SS General Kammler. I already showed you Hans Kammler, right? Who was in charge of Germany's most secret weapons program. We went over this, right? Göring, Hermann Göring was Hitler's, basically his number 2. But at some point, it got beyond just, they were no longer just in some secret society fucking around, kids with no jobs, bullshitting, doing drugs all day. Like now, Hitler's somebody. And even though you're my best friend, I don't think you can handle this job of what I need to be done with the technology. So he brought in Kammler. Now, Kammler was a civil engineer, and who knew he was going to be that fucking crazy? But he knew he was a better project manager, so he knew how to delegate, and he knew how to get shit done. So he brings in Hans Kohler. And then Hans Kohler obviously had been studying Nikola Tesla's coil, the Tesla coil, and he was able to add to it, and they were able to come up with some pretty cool stuff. We'll get to that later. Yes, Roby. Yes. Just let your sound. Yes. He's out here. Using the powers for no good at all, huh? Everybody's serious at work, and he's bullshitting somewhere, trying to get the German Full what they call it, the full chow mustache. All right, let's get back to this. It became apparent in 1946 that the 54 U-boats and over 6,000 technicians and scientists were missing from Germany, especially from the SS technical branch. There were also 40,000 slave laborers, between 142,000 to 200 to 250,000 German citizens unaccounted for. So America picked up on this, right? I mean, I'm not saying we were dumb. I never said we was dumb. America, we like to hoard the information. That's what we like to do. I never said we was dumb. We don't always use the information in a logical, rational way. Like me and you, we would probably use these information that America gets for different things. That's because we're more human than these people, these politicians, these people that's running the globe. They have an agenda, and they are androids, meaning the way they think, they stay on fucking agenda, right? So casualty is just part of it. They're not going to stop it because someone might die. Right? 9/11. Sorry. Allegedly. What? I didn't say anything. Oh, okay. Then continue on. Okay. What? They're not going to stop it because someone might die. Right? Because it may lead to something where they could take advantage of that situation, and it would be to their benefit. Do remember Operation Northwoods. Now, despite simply writing these off as probable losses and deaths of the war, Washington suspected that a large number of these missing actually escaped to South America and based to to 11, if such a base existed. The U.S. then went on a hunt using the war criminal propaganda, right, to cover up the search for technology akin to Southern American version of Operation Paperclip. Yeah, right, Uncle Andy. Like what? U.S. Exactly. USS Liberty. Wait, what? 5,000 dead. Shot up. What? I didn't say anything. What do you mean by that? Nothing. Didn't Israel apologize for it? I don't know if they apologized or they just said, I didn't know that was you. Those were American boats that we shot. I don't know if they officially apologized. They just kind of like was like, oh, I didn't know you were there. It's like someone stepping on your brand new white sneakers like, damn, Daniel, back at it with the white Vans. And you step on Daniel's shits and then you just look at him like, oh, I didn't even know your foot was there. And then you just walk off. Okay, we usually say sorry, yo, like my bad at least. Nope, nothing. Just, oh, I thought those boats, I didn't see it said America on it. Peace. What? The United States was so concerned about the secret base that in 1947, with the first Antarctic summer, Operation Highjump, don't you worry, we're going to get into all this, was launched with a full military task force headed by Admiral Byrd. We'll get into the details of Operation Highjump later. And I will explain this later because obviously Admiral Byrd is back, right? First, Admiral Byrd was just out there. They sent him out there on a bullshit dummy mission, right? Yo, go see what you can find in Antarctica. I'm not going out there. Here's a couple of dollars. So he went and literally did something strange for some change and almost killed himself of carbon monoxide in a base, and he had to be rescued. And still, you didn't see any urgency from the United States saying, yo, we got to get out there now. You never seen that. You never seen that. So what happened in 1947 that the United States would say, yo, I want you to take 4,700 troops, round off 5,000, right? So we're going to call it 5,000, but just for my gaslighters that like to watch me and be like, yo, why you lying, bro? You don't do your research. It wasn't 5,000. Don't do that. These people are what we call assholes. Yeah. They're what we refer to as assholes. So they don't know how to round up. Trust me, I deal with these people all the time, right? You want to DM me private notes about, yo, you don't really do good research. It wasn't 5,000. It was only yo. Shut up, bro. Go jump in a pond, a deep one, and count to 1,000. Stupid. So the United States, 1947, for some reason, don't worry, I'm going to get you the reason why. We're going to figure that out tonight. For some reason, they said, no. I think we need to send 5,000 troops. 5,000 troops to Antarctica. For what? Nah, because there's a couple of people missing and all that, and this could be a war crime. The fuck are you talking about? Why do you care? 5,000 troops? You sent Admiral Byrd by himself out there the last 2 times. He almost died. What is so different this time? Aha, we'll get to it. They went out there, but Admiral Byrd's planes was lost, some of them, several of them, and Admiral Byrd came back talking crazy. Now, hold on one second. Okay. I just want to make sure. All right. Now, when I say Admiral Byrd came back talking crazy, what do you mean he came back talking crazy, Jamel? Like, what are you saying? Well, he was saying things in the press that I don't think he would be allowed to have said today. Exactly, Uncle Andy. They sent him out there with good advice. They sent your boy packing out there with good advice the first 2 times. Yo, if you get cold, rub your joints. Like, look at me. Like this. Not like this. You gotta cause friction for heat. Take that with you, my boy. See you on the way back, huh? And patted him on his ass. Disrespectful. They only got serious when they want to get serious. And you know the only time they get serious is when there's something in it for them. So they didn't really see what was in it. They thought it was just ice out there. But this time, in 1947, they said, no. Send 5,000 troops, 13 ships, 33 ship carriers. Yeah. It got stupid. Right? Oh, I thought I wrote down how many. It don't matter. I wrote it down somewhere. I did write it down somewhere. So we probably just didn't get to it yet. But let me get to his comments first of all. Right? Because he gets out there on this mission, Operation Highjump, and he comes back frantic. Right? He tells the newspapers in the United States must prepare for attacks from the polar regions. What do you talk about? Listen, y'all, we never heard this before. There's been several people out there. Why would a seasoned admiral come back talking nuts? But he don't sound crazy. So the New York Times got him saying the United States must prepare for attacks from the polar regions? The Chilean newspaper got him quoted as enemy aircraft could fly from pole to pole. That's in the El Mercurio, 1947. Yeah, Byrd was out here just talking. He's talked to anybody with a mic. You understand? If he was here today, I guarantee he'd be on Zip with the Drip, just talking crazy. He reportedly said, in the event of a new war, the United States, listen to this, in the event of a new war, the United States would have to defend itself against aircrafts coming from the polar regions, capable, listen, of traveling from pole to pole at great speed. I don't know if I told y'all last video, but they had docked the speeds of one of those V planes at being able to go like 2,000 miles per hour. It was nuts. However, Admiral Byrd wasn't used to this type of excitement, right? He's used to, the most excitement he had was almost poisoning himself with carbon monoxide. he was over there on some jelly bean business, just like, and he didn't find shit. You know why he didn't find nothing? He didn't have the right resources. How much could he do? A couple of dogs in a sled? Y'all thought that? Stop being cheap, bro. Put some money into this. But America didn't put no money into it. And then when he came back and told them all I found was white snow, they say, we already knew that, you jackass. It is what it is. And they went back to business. Germany was out here wilding. Let's talk about something. Let's talk about this Operation Tabarin, 1943. Look at the dates, y'all. Look at the dates. I put them in this order for a reason, right? Because first I wanted to show you how we was wilding out 1947. So I jumped ahead just to show you. 1947, we put it in all we had. Let's go. 5,000 troops to supposedly, allegedly a barren land with just ice. Now, let me bring you back. Let's bring the story, rewind the story back a little bit. Let's come back. 1943. Now, this is before the Nuremberg trials. This is before the actual fall of Germany, World War II. Oh, Uncle Andy said, what happened to the 5K soldiers down there? Well, what was meant for a long expedition didn't stay that long. They got the hell up out of Dodge. So I think most of the 5K was able to come back. I don't want to quote. I do remember something about a crash, but I don't know if that was there, right? So I won't say that right now. There was somewhere that something did happen where one of these aircrafts that he's talking about ripped through another aircraft from one of these governments like a hot knife through butter. I want to say it was this expedition. I want to say that, but I didn't write it down, and I'm not going to quote that. But Admiral Byrd was freaked out. He was freaked out. He just wanted to leave. He was like, nah, this is not my type of... We not doing this. And he bounced. U-turn. Yeah, U-turn. That's a fact. In 1943, now, that's even crazy. That America sent 5,000 troops out there and they ended up doing a U-turn? What would make the whole... Forget Admiral Byrd, right? Because you may think he's a sucker because he's not used to... He's like Mr. Rogers, right? I don't think he's a sucker, but he may not be a... He's used to doing shit alone, right? But at the same time, he has no problem being alone in a strange land by himself figuring the shit out. So he can't be that much of a sucker. What would make him shake in his boots and do the U-turn and be like, come over here and then start talking crazy on the news channels? What did he see? That's what you need to ask yourself before we get into any aliens and all of this other stuff. Just, he's seen something. Right? I didn't say it was aliens. I didn't say it wasn't aliens. I just said he's seen something. It don't got to be aliens. It could have been something else. He told you what he's seen. He's seen crafts that could fly at extreme speeds that he's never seen this before. In 1943, at the height of the Second World War, the British government, okay, here comes the Brits, government launched a top secret expedition to Antarctica. Now, all of a sudden, everybody want to go to Antarctica. Why? Why is it top secret? Let me ask you that. Because in 1938, who went back over there after having been there twice? 1901 to 1903, 1911 to 1913. 4 years. Then, 1938, they say, fuck it, we out. Let's prepare. Just in case we lose this war, when the shit hits the fan, Now, everybody give me a second. I'll be right back. Don't nobody move. We got a lot to talk about. Dinner's ready yet? Or no? Okay. Where's my other hat? Beyond you. Okay. It's all good. It's all good. I found it. All right. I'm back. I just had to change hats. The winter hat was getting too hot for your boy. All right. Now I got a lot of reading to do. Because I see down here I put, please see tab for further info. I know what that means. Well, let me just finish reading this. The British cabinet approval for the expedition was granted on the 28th of January 1943, and the expedition set out just 10 months later, in November 1943. To organize such a complex operation in such short a space of time during wartime was a major feat. Codenamed Tambourine, the organization of the expedition involved many late nights and certain amounts of chaos, just like the Paris nightclub it was named after. Now we getting history over here. Some people tell me I put out good content. I'm going to tell you something. I agree with them. You understand? Because I watch YouTube a lot. And there's not a lot of channels that really, truly educate me. There are some, though. Shout out to the What If Files, if that's what they're called, right? What If Files? They're dope. Hope they come back. Shout out to Kim Iverson. Shout out to, what's the comedian's name? My boy. There's a few that do really good research. Even on the ignorant side, Poetic Flacco, he does do good research. He can be annoying sometimes, but shout out to Poetic Flacco too. Shout out to anybody doing good research. All right. It says see the tab. Let's see the tab. Let's get into this Operation Tamarind. Operation Tamarind. All right. I think I'm going to take it from right here. Because this was one of the... This is a fringe website, but I don't really get my stuff from fringe websites. But when I was reading this, it basically had said everything that I was going to tell you. So I just said, you know what? Why paraphrase? Let me just read it from here, because they seem to be doing a very good job right on this website. So here we go. In 1938, Nazi Germany sent an expedition to Antarctica with a mission to investigate sites for possible base and to make formal claims in the... Hold on. Sorry about this. Okay, right here. Uncle Andy says, smoke him if you got him. Let's go. 1938, Nazi Germany sent an expedition to Antarctica with a mission to investigate sites for possible base and to make formal claims in the name of the Third Reich. To prepare them for their mission, they invited the great polar explorer Richard E. Byrd. Now let me just stop right there. I have found no validity to this, and I have searched. I'm not saying it's not true, but what I'm saying is it can't be validated. So there's a chance that that part right there is not true. However, Richard E. Byrd is dead. Dead man tell no tales. And who's going to say different? You understand? He was American. So if the Third Reich did invite him over, like I heard before, way before I read this website, then Germany's in no position to say, yeah, that's what happened. You had 1,600 of their scientists and their specialists begging to come to the United States for cheese and bread after this whole debacle went ass up. You understand? So Germany's not going to corroborate that, and the United States is not going to corroborate that, and Richard E. Byrd is dead. It's up to you who you want to believe, right? So I'm just going to read this. I'm not saying I told you the truth. I can't find validation of Richard E. Byrd actually consulting them. And that's what I had heard before. But I think it happened, but it doesn't matter. I got to tell you the truth. Now, to prepare them for their mission, they invited the great polar explorer Richard E. Byrd to lecture them on what to expect. The following year, a month after hostilities had commenced in Europe, the Germans returned to Neuschwabenland to finish what had been started, with many suggesting that a base was being constructed. 9 years later, Richard E. Byrd, who now had become an admiral in the United States Navy, was sent to Antarctica with the largest task ever assembled by a polar mission. In Admiral Byrd's own words, the mission, codenamed Highjump, was primarily of a military nature. Okay. Since when? Why? They sent you there twice, bro. It wasn't of a military nature. Now they sent you with 5,000 troops. Many claim that the task force was sent to eradicate a secret Nazi base in Piedmontland, which the Nazis had renamed Neuschwabenland, and which had never been explored as profoundly as the rest of the Antarctic. Well, here's when your logic comes into play, because like I showed you before, it's not that America never sent somebody to Antarctica. They did. Sent them twice. Man almost killed himself the second time. They gave a shit. Then in 1947, they sent 5,000 people. Why do you think they sent 5,000 personnel out there? You answer that, not me. They was expecting something. They heard something, obviously. But, and the big but is the fact that Admiral Byrd spoke of flying objects that could fly from pole to pole at incredible speeds, and with well-documented German activity before, during, and immediate aftermath of World War II. One can't help but wonder whether there is some truth in the Nazi Antarctica myth. Even so, could Operation Highjump and Byrd's quotes have overshadowed the truth about British excursions in Antarctica by way of misinformation, bringing attention to his mission, and by doing so, making sure that history only remembered one mysterious Antarctic mission? When Antarctica mystery is mentioned, Britain is never given more than a footnote. I agree. The fact is surprising in itself, especially as British forces were active in Antarctica throughout the war and quite possibly took the initiative in dealing with the Antarctic Nazi threat a whole 12 months before Operation Highjump was initiated. I agree, and I already showed you that. Britain's activities on Antarctica, though less documented and more clandestine, are just as intriguing as the supposed much vaunted Operation Highjump. Unfortunately for Britain. Thank you. Britain's activities on Antarctica, though less documented and more clandestine, are just as intriguing as the supposed much vaunted Operation Highjump. Unfortunately for Britain, though victorious in the war, it was bankrupted and humiliated by two new superpowers. Shit happens. But Britain was in a position to regain some pride and surreptitiously upset its supposed allies with the final decisive battle against surviving Nazis, a battle that would never be recorded in the history books. Aha! A battle that would make its claims on the continent more legitimate, but most importantly, a battle that ended the war that it had been compelled to wage. Let's go. Antarctic postage stamps, claim or commemoration. On February 1st, 1946, a set of postage stamps was released with His Majesty's royal approval. These stamps caused international outrage and brought on a diplomatic crisis for a war-weary Great Britain. The offending 8 postage stamps commemorated Britain's claim to the Falkland Islands dependencies, but one of them also depicted a territorial map of Antarctica that completely overlooked Chile's and most of Argentina's claims on the continent. Now, why would Britain, when the world economy was in such a dire straits, bring about an international crisis over an area of the world that appeared on the surface to be totally devoid of life? Most historians claim that Britain's post-war interests arose because, with Britain in dire need of materials, Antarctica was deemed as the solution. The stamps were a way of making Britain's claims valid. That assertion, however partially true, does not explain why British forces, as part of Operation Timberland, were on the continent throughout an immediate aftermath of the war. Operation Timberland was activated as a measure of monitoring German activities on the Antarctic continent. The known British bases were mainly on the Antarctic Peninsula in places such as Port Lockroy and Hope Bay. and on islands surrounding the peninsula, such as the secret bases on Deception and Winnick Islands. Though some were set up on the continent, the most secret of all has not, and more than likely never will be, disclosed. The base at Maudheim, near the Hoffman Mountain Range in Queen Maud Land, or alternative New Schwabenland, was so secret that it was never given a name or even a grid reference on official maps. Could the stamps have been released to commemorate a successful mission in Queen Maud Land? The facts and the rumors, as well as the stories dispensed by a wartime SAS officer, may shed some light on many mysteries of the Antarctic arena, a front that has been kept secret for 60 years, and on a hostile encounter that will never be divulged to the public. Britain has suppressed so many wartime events in the name of national security that now, even 60 years on, many people are still none the wiser about the secrets of the war, from Rudolf Hess to the peace parties to the even more sinister happenings include Britain's knowledge of the Nazi extermination camps, the Irish Republicans' army flirtation with Nazis, the lesser-known secrets such as the SS concentration camps on British soil. I don't know nothing about that. With the passing of time, all those who served the New Schwabenland campaign are no longer with us. That's probably true. The last survivor gave me the following account of forgotten battle. I hasten to add the story was told on 2 separate occasions, 10 years apart, and there was not one discrepancy in either account. The editor says we have deleted opening and closing quotation marks in the next section for ease of reading. Okay, well, it's all good. It's all good. It's a lot of reading here. I'm down to clown all around the town, so let's go. When victory in Europe was announced, my unit was resting in a cave in the former Yugoslavia. I was thankful that the war had finally ended. Though with war still being waged in the Pacific and tensions rising in Palestine, it's still? Jesus. We were warned that our war could continue. Thankfully, I was spared from participating in the war against Japan. But alas, I was posted to Palestine, where the influx of Jews, allied with a rise of Zionist terrorism, was causing anguish not only to the inhabitants of Palestine, but also to the British forces that were sent to stem the Jewish influx and quell the uprising. I was warned that my posting in Palestine would continue indefinitely. I saw many of my old fellow soldiers die. Thankfully, I received an order at the beginning of October 1945 to report to my commanding officer, as I had been selected for a mission so secret that none of my senior officers knew why I had been requested to go to Gibraltar. Gibraltar? I don't know how to say that. Gibraltar. I was not told, I think it's Gibraltar, like the Rock of Gibraltar. I was not told why I had to report, but I went, hopeful that I would soon be discharged into Civvy Street. How wrong I was. I would be spending another Christmas on a war footing. Once I arrived on Gibraltar, I was secreted away by a major and informed that I would be sent to the Falkland Islands dependencies for further briefing, and that I would be joined by several other soldiers from other elite British forces. The mystery thickened as we were all flown to the Falklands under complete silence. We were ordered not to even speculate why we had been selected and where we were going. Upon reaching the desolate, forbidding Falkland Islands, we were introduced to the officer who was leading the expedition, and a Norwegian who had served in the Norwegian resistance, an expert in winter warfare, who was going to be training us for the mission that we had no inkling about. The Falklands is now considered the best kept secret in the British Army, and being posted there normally meant an easy few years. However, things were different in the 1940s, even more so for those who had been selected with me. We were forced to undertake a grueling month's training where we prepared for cold weather warfare. Cold weather warfare is crazy. From being plunged into the icy Atlantic to facing the prove correct. Okay. We were informed that we were to investigate anomalous activities around the Hoffman Mountains from the British base in Modheim, Antarctica, so we were told was Britain's secret war. We were then briefed on British activities in the South Pole during the war. We sat intrigued as to what was being divulged. None of us had heard anything so fascinating or frightening. It was not common knowledge that the Nazis had been to Antarctica in 1938 and 1939, and even less known was the fact that Britain began to set up secret bases around Antarctica in response. The one we were to visit, Modheim, was the biggest and most important, as well as the most clandestine Antarctic base of them all. The reason for its importance was the fact that it was within 200 miles of where the Nazis had supposedly built their Antarctic base. We sat there stunned, but still the mystery deepened. We were told about Germany activity in the southern ocean around Antarctica. We were also informed that an inestimable number of U-boats were missing and unaccounted for. But worse, some of those had surrendered months after the war ended, fueled even more speculation. Okay. British forces had captured three of the biggest names in the Nazi party: Hess, Himmler, and Donitz. And Donitz is the one at the beginning of my video that I said he's the one who spilled the beans and was like, yo, we got invisible fortresses in the mountains. He said this before you guys are even like, I don't believe this horse shit. Take it up with these guys, not me. No doubt. Okay, I'm reading the comments. All right, let's keep going, man. So, British forces, now they have Hess, now they have Himmler, now they have Donitz. And with their captures, Britain was given information that was not going to be shared with Russia or the United States. Yo, don't go nowhere, because we're going to get into that. They were called the Allied Powers. Right? And they were supposed to be working together. Right? United States, Britain, and Russia. Don't worry. I'm going to get into it. They decided not to. They decided to go for self. And who got left out there? This is why Russia don't trust some motherfucking thing to this day. Because Russia really thought, okay, we're going to do this. And the other two was like, yeah, we're going to do this. Scouts on, word is bond. And when they got the chance, they just cut Russia the fuck out. So, I'm not a Russian sympathizer, right? Because I don't need the fucking FBI at my door. I'm just telling you, after reading this story in history, I understand why Russia don't trust the motherfucking United States. And that wasn't the only thing that kind of kicked off the Cold War, but you bet your bottom dollar That was one of the things. And after that, they was like, oh, no, we never trust these motherfuckers again. Never. I don't give a shit what. And it was a little bit deeper than a spit handshake, right? They had spoke about what they were going to do together in detail. And then the United States, as we will see, still ran off and did its own motherfucking thing. Why? Because it wanted to be in the position that we are in today with the top technology. We got that motherfucking technology. But as you can see, we started off like a turtle. Right? Right? I'm showing you these things for a reason, not just to show you fucking slides. I didn't spend hours on these goddamn slides just for fucking kicks and giggles, because it wasn't kicks and giggles. Right? It's to show you there was levels of interest at some point, and then there was no levels of interest, and all of a sudden the shit spiked up. It spiked up because as they started to capture these Nazis, they started talking. And when they started talking, they realized, oh, we got to get out there ASAP. And it seemed like Britain was ahead of the game. The United States was ahead of the game because of Allen Dulles, Henry Kissinger, cats like that. I don't know what the fuck Russia was doing. I don't know if they was bullshitting around, jumping on building from building. I don't, they be into other shit. You understand? So maybe the president was taking a little bit more days off, dicking off, jumping from building to building, testing his endurance. Who knows? What he wasn't doing was espionage work. That's what he wasn't doing. He wasn't doing subversive intelligence and all this other stuff. He was riding around shirtless on horseback. I don't know. But they got left holding the bag. I'm going to show you. Don't worry. It is going to be clear as day by the time this whole shit is over. Now let's get back to this. Now we have Hess, we have Himmler, and we have donuts that captured, right? They start spilling the beans about West Wind, this shit is here and this shit. That information compelled Britain to act alone, and we were spearheading that operation. We were told in no specific terms what was expected of us and what Britain expected us to find on Antarctica. Britain had no more than a strong suspicion that the Germans had built a secret base and had spirited many of the unaccounted Nazis away from the turmoil in Europe. Still, more and more revelations were forthcoming. The summer before, we were told the original scientists and commandos had found an ancient tunnel. Under orders, the force went through the tunnel, but only to return before the Antarctic winter set in. During the winter months, the two survivors made absurd claims over the radio about polar men, ancient tunnels, and Nazis. Radio contact was finally lost in July 1945, and anonymously, that does not say anonymously. Hold on. Ominously. I don't even know what that means. Hold on, y'all. What the fuck does this word mean? Hold on. Ominously. What the fuck does ominously mean? Ominously. In a way that suggests that something bad is going to happen. Oh. Okay. Ominously, for our mission going into the unknown, the last broadcast brought us all further anxiety as we listened to the fear in the voice. The polar men have found us, was screamed before contact was lost. Jesus, who are the polar men? The polar men sounds crazy. The polar man has found it. Okay. After the radio broadcast was played, we were then giving a rousing speech from the major who would be leading the expedition to investigate what had happened. We are to go to the base at Mardheim, find the tunnel, investigate the enigma of the polar men and the Nazis, and do what we can to make sure the Nazi threat is destroyed. Okay, he wants a medal, obviously. When asked for questions, we all had so many, and thankfully the answers were honest and direct. We were informed that the evasive action was being taken because Britain was well aware of the U.S. and the USSR intentions in mounting their own expeditions. Okay, talk that talk. And Britain did not want to risk the chance that the U.S. or the USSR would discover the base and gain further Nazi technology. So like I said, not everybody, Britain was smart enough to be like, I don't trust these two motherfuckers. Let's get out there first. And they did get out there first before this group called Allied Partners. Allied Partners was Britain, US, and Russia. USA, you already know how we move. So when I get to that part of how we moved and do what we do, you're not going to be shocked. You may be shocked that they still telling you lies, but you're not going to be shocked. Like, it's going to make way more sense than it's ever made, because usually you would get people on here. Like I said before, there's a couple of YouTubers who will break shit down like this in detail to it makes sense, logic, and then there's some that just want to get up here and yell a bunch of shit. I don't think that's how things can be done, because it can't be computed right. Like, no one's connecting the dots. You got to you got to explain it so that they get like, oh snap, I see what happened. Right. All right, so let's go. So he says they were told, like, yo, we got to do this before US or the USSR does it, right? Basically, both countries had a technological advantage over Britain because of the scientists, equipment, and research both countries had recovered. 1945. Yeah. I'll get to that part. 1945. I'll explain that in great detail. One of the reasons America might have been late because of Operation Paperclip. However, as we will see later on, before Operation Paperclip, the United States was already talking to what's his name? I know his last name is Wolf. So they was already talking to some Nazis, working out a deal for these people to separate themselves. So they was already to surrender themselves. They was already talking. Some of these Nazis didn't believe they could win, and they was fucking right. They knew, because Hitler was bugging. Like, you can't start all these wars. How the fuck you gonna win? You start a war with Russia, Britain, and you're bugging, my boy. So a lot of these Nazis knew, like, you ain't gonna win this shit. He's bugging. You see his mustache? What made me think a dude with a mustache like that could ever give good military advice? This nigga's a poet, Lord. And a bad poet. He's done way more cocaine than he's done poetry sessions since I've met him. And they just started working out deals. We'll get to all of that. Trying to see where I was at. Ancient tunnel. Direct answers. Nevertheless, Britain wanted to be the nation to destroy the menace because Britain viewed Antarctica as under the British Empire's jurisdiction And if the Nazis were there, it was their duty and their desire to eradicate them first, and thus deny both the USA and the USSR the propaganda value of fighting the last battle of the World War II. Right. We were flown to the pre-designated drop-off point, which was 20 miles from the Maldheim base. Snow tractors had already been dispatched and were awaiting our arrival. After parachuting into the icy wilderness, full of fear and trepidation, we reached the snow tractors, and from that moment on, we were on a war footing. We had to operate under complete radio silence. We were alone, with no backup and no chance of retreat if our worst fears were confirmed. We approached the base wary of what was awaiting us. But when we got there, the base appeared devoid of life, a ghost town. Instantly, our suspicions were aroused. But, just like all previous campaigns I fought during the war, we had a job to do, and so our personal fears could not shroud our judgment. As we split up to search the base, a tripwire was detonated and a siren sounded, destroying the silence and startling the whole force. A shout was soon heard, demanding us to identify ourselves, but the voice could not be targeted. With our guns raised, the major introduced us to the voice, and then thankfully the voice was given a body. The voice belonged to a lone survivor, and what he divulged made us more obnoxious. Sorry, obnoxious is crazy. And what he divulged made us more anxious and had us wishing that there were more troops among our ranks. The lone survivor claimed that in Bunker 1 was the other survivor from the tunnel trip, along with one of the mysterious polar men that we had heard on the recorded broadcast. Despite obstructions and objections from the survivor, Bunker 1 was ordered to be opened. The survivor had to be held back, and his fear and anguish panicked us instantly, and none of us wanted to be the one to enter the bunker. Fortunately, I was not selected to enter. That honor was bestowed on the youngest member of our unit. He proceeded inside hesitating slightly as he struggled with the door. Once inside, a silence descended across the base, followed moments later by 2 gunshots. The door was opened, and the polar man dashed to freedom. None of us was expecting what we saw, and the polar man had fled into the surrounding terrain so quick that only a few token shots were fired. Okay. Out of fear and awe at what we had seen, we all decided to go into the bunker. Go in we did, and 2 bodies were found. The soldier who had pulled the short straw was found with his throat ripped out, and more heinous, the survivor had been stripped to the bones. Jesus. What we had witnessed demanded answers. With our abject anger at seeing one of our unit die within hours of our landing on the continent, our anger was taken out of the lone survivor who had warned us against opening the Bunker 1. Well, he did warn you. What would you take? Why would you take it out on him? He warned you not to open that shit. The whole unit listened categorically to the major's questions, but it was the answers that were to provoke the most intrigue. The first question that needed answering was just what happened to the other survivor, and how he had become trapped in the bunker with that polar man. However, the lone survivor preferred to start from the beginning, from when they had first found the tunnel. Whilst he narrated what had happened, the scientists who had accompanied us scribbled down everything divulged, and transpired that the area near the tunnel was one of Antarctica's unique dry valleys, and that was how they managed to find the tunnel with such ease. Every one of the 30 personnel at the Maud base was ordered to investigate it and, if possible, find out exactly where the tunnel led. They followed the tunnel for miles, and eventually they came to a vast underground cavern that was abnormally warm. Some of the scientists believed that it was warm geothermally, and the huge cavern were underground lakes. However, the mystery deepened as the cavern was lit artificially. The cavern proved so extensive that they had to split up, and that was when the real discoveries were made. Okay, now we're getting to it. The Nazis had constructed a huge base in the caverns and had even built docks for U-boats, and one was identified supposedly. Still, the deeper they traveled, the more strange visions they were greeted with. The survivor reported that hangars for strange planes and excavations galore had been documented. Wow. However, their presence had not gone unnoticed. The two survivors at the Maudheim base witnessed their comrades get captured and executed one by one. After witnessing only 6 of the executions, they fled to the tunnel, lest they be caught. With the aim to block up the tunnel, though, it was too late. The polar men were coming, claimed the survivor. With enemy forces hot on their tail, they had no choice but to try to get back to the base so that they could inform and warn their superiors about what they had uncovered. They managed to get back to the base, but with winter approaching and little chance of rescue, they believed it was their duty to make sure the secret Nazi base was reported, and so they split up, each taking a wireless and waiting in separate bunkers. One of the survivors tempted one of the polar men into the bunker in the hope that they'd believe only one had survived. The plan worked, but to the detriment of his life and to the radio. Unfortunately, the brave soul in Bunker 1 had the only full operational wireless radio, which was destroyed in the fracas. The other survivor had no option but to sit, wait, and try to avoid going stir-crazy. The mystery of who or what the polar men was explained. Not too satisfactorily, but explained nonetheless. As a product of Nazi science, the enigma of how Nazis were getting power was also explained, albeit not in scientific terms. The power that the Nazis were utilizing was by volcanic activity, which gave them heat for steam and also helped produce electricity. But the Nazis had also mastered an unknown energy source, because the survivor claimed, after what I witnessed, the amount of electricity needed is more than could be produced, in my opinion, by steam. Let's just pause right there. This is a reoccurring theme that I think all of us on Earth should probably be upset with at this point. The fact that we know at this point, we may not know how to actually create electricity, but we know it doesn't cost these people anything to really provide electricity for everyone. And it could be provided without the use of manpower at this point. But we know it's not gonna bring in dollars, so they're not gonna do it right now, right? Who knows after everything is digital? Because I have other videos that I need to do, right? And one of the things, the shows that I'm gonna do, Absolute electronic dictatorship. Absolute electronic dictatorship. That is a show that I'm going to do. And it speaks for itself because that's where we're headed, right? So when we do get to that point, because that's where we're headed, and everyone will be on the blockchain, we know this. That's where it's headed. They're trying to get you to get the real ID. They're just doing it in stages, right? Because if they did it abruptly, then no doubt this is a good cause for us to all flip out on one frequency, and we could, who knows, we might be down to die for our rights. You understand? But if they rock us to sleep and we feel like, it's not a big deal, let me just go to, that's how they would prefer it, right? They've learned from over the millions of years, thousands of years, like, don't do it like that. Don't do it abruptly. They flip out. They don't like that shit. They will fucking find us. Just rock them to sleep very slowly. Too abrupt, they bug out. They know this. All right, let's get back to this. I just thought it was sad that these people are fucking charging us for fucking something that it's just we haven't figured it out, and they don't want us to figure it out. That's why they're not teaching our kids, right? But they do it in a way where it makes it seem like, oh, we're teaching them. But what they do is they also they got so many distractions out there, right, that they know your children are going to participate in. They say, nah, they're kids. They'll never fucking get it. Only a few will get it. And if anybody announces that, hey, we figured out how to make free energy instead of keeping that shit to themselves, we're going to... You understand? Now, the scientists among the party dismissed most of what was divulged and rebuked the survivor for his lack of scientific education and implied that his revelations could not possibly be true. Though the scientists dismissed the survivor's claims, the major didn't. He wanted to know more about the enemy that we were facing, but more fundamentally, just what the polar man was going to do next. The answer from the survivor did nothing to comfort us and provoked the scientists to announce that the survivor was certifiable. It's always one, bro. It's always one you trying to tell. I remember sidebar. I remember my last channel before it got taken for me making a video about the connection of the inoculation connected to autism. YouTube did not like that shit. They snatched my channel so fast. But there was a guy on there called Macau16. He's still somewhere around here. He was like, I know he was Muslim, but he was like Sunni Muslim, right? He always struck me as odd, right? I thought he was trying to be way too more American, like point out like, yo, I'm really I'm like one of you guys, but you're not like one of us though, bro. Right? I don't know what you got going on, but I keep it up and I'm gonna put the feds on you. But he decided to put the feds on me first. He's out here telling YouTube that I'm gonna get people hurt because I'm telling people not to take the vaccine, and so they was already on to my shenanigans before they took my channel because of this guy. Turns out I was right? Look at all the news that's coming out now about that. I was right the whole time. But you're always going to get one who has a cognitive dissonance. He believes the people in the white coat, right? And he can't believe what he's hearing, right? I get them over here on my channel. Shout out to everybody, including Thornton. I don't know if Thornton is a religious man, but for some reason, he don't believe there's other entities on this planet. And he does not. He, as a black man, he is offended that I said that the Caucasian people originated from another star system. Oh, he was offended. More than likely, he believes that his God made them. That's cool. However, I don't have to try to convince you in one episode. I got my whole life to get up here and do video after video to prove you wrong and me right. Because there's so much information that you was never told. For me to try to tell you, I'm not trying to convince you in one video. You are obviously going through cognitive dissonance. Just like this doctor here. The dude the survivor is telling him what the snowman is going to do. He calls the survivor certifiable. Disconcerted is too weak a word to describe how we felt when the survivor replied to the major's questions about the escaped polar man's intentions. He said he will wait, watch, and wonder just how different we taste. That's crazy, dog. On hearing that, the major issued a battle cry, and guard duty was set up whilst the major and the scientists discussed in private just what we were to do next, even though it was obvious to the rest of us. The next morning, we were ordered to investigate the tunnel, and for the next 48 hours, we made our way steadily to the dry valley and to the supposed ancient tunnel. Upon arriving in the dry valley, we were all amazed that we had been told that Antarctica was completely icebound. And yet, here we were in a valley that reminded me of being back in North African Sahara. We were forbidden from even approaching the tunnel until the temporary base camp had been erected. And whilst the men constructed the base, the scientists and the major investigated the tunnel. After a few hours, they returned to the now complete camp to chronicle what they had seen and what our next plan of action was to be. The tunnel was not an ancient passageway at all, claimed the scientists, although the major added that the walls were made of a smooth granite and looked infinite. We were informed that we would be able to make our own minds up after we had rested for the night. Let's just stop right there. Smooth granite, it sounds like how they say there are pyramids in the mountains in Antarctica. There's a black pyramid. I don't know anything about it. I don't know if it's true or false. I'm just telling you. It sounds like whenever I see the granite, I visualize the crystals that was used maybe for power. You understand? There's a lot of pyramids all across the globe, including North America. There's so many. I see pyramids all the time in North America. Remember, I'm a truck driver. But some of them are camouflaged because what these people have done is they created artificial mounds to look like mountains, right? I'm always surprised when these people just start building mounds. And I say, why are you doing that? Why are you building mounds, right? But I can tell the pyramids from your bullshit mounds here in North America. I can tell. Oh, look at it. See, Uncle Andy already beat me to it. He said graphene pyramid. Exactly. That's what it is. That's what it was. Kush was good. Wallahi, brother. How are you and the wife and the kids? Tell the kids I said hello. Hopefully your wisdom will be able to join us on the show. You understand? I know this type of conversation is right up her alley. You understand? So salute to Kush is in the building. He's off of work. Enjoying a alcoholic beverage with his feet up in the air, listening to your boy Saladin. Salute. I appreciate this. Let's get back to it. So apparently, if you're just joining us, these are records from the British exploration What was it called again? Operation. My mind is all over the place, but we'll get to it in a second, the actual name. But anyway, Great Britain had a exploration before the United States, after Germany, of course, and Russia was nowhere to be found. He said, that's right. I know. It's my guy right there. After a few hours, they returned to. Let's see if I'm starting in the right place. Let's start here. The next 40 hours, investigate the tunnel. And whilst the men constructed the base. Okay, after a few hours, they returned. Camper informed that we were able to make up our mind. Okay, here we go. Sleeping in Antarctica. Yeah, Tambourine. Thank you. Operation Tambourine. That's what it was called. All right. We're making headway. We're making headway before. This is an interesting story. Sleeping in Antarctica during the summer months was difficult, with perpetual daylight covering the continent. But that night, sleep was even more difficult to come by, with all the thoughts running through each of our minds about what we would find and just when and where we would encounter the polar man again. Just before. Now, this polar man obviously sounds like the guy from fucking Slim Jims, but a white polar bear, like a Bigfoot. I don't know. They never said what the polar man was. I could possibly find out what the polar man was. Like, hold on a second. Nope. All right. We'll find out what the polar man was. Hopefully they might tell us. Just before we were assigned our times for guard duty, we were informed that we would be following the tunnel all the way to the Führer, if it needs be. That night, our fears were confirmed as the polar man did indeed return. However, this time no more casualties occurred on our side, but the polar man was slain as he was lured to the camp. The scientists decided that the polar man was human, but it seemed had been able to produce more hair and withstand the cold far more effectively. The corpse, after a brief post-mortem, was stored in a body bag and with the cold could be preserved until a more meticulous dissection could occur. The next morning it was decided that 2 would remain in the tunnel's entrance with the corpse. The tractors, the equipment, but more fundamentally the radio. The major leading the expedition needed the Norwegian for his expertise and also the scientist. The survivor, too, was critical for the mission's success. The rest of us wanted to join them. Now they want to join them. Now that they were shook of the polar man. Now that the polar man is dead. No, we wanted to smoke. No, you didn't, bro. You didn't want no smoke with no polar man, bro. Knock it off. I was selected with the other Jubilant 4, who would be undertaking one of the most exciting and possible one of the most important expeditions in human history. The 2 who were kept behind were disappointed, but their roles were just as vital to the mission success as the 9 who would be traversing into the unknown. All right. As the 9 of us prepared to enter the tunnel, we made sure that we took enough ammunition and explosives to wage a small war and hopefully destroy the base in its entirety. For that was our mission, not to salvage, but to destroy. We walked into the darkness, and thankfully after 4 hours of walking, we began to see some light in the far distance. However, the light was still another hour away. Damn. This is crazy. Let's just stop right here. Right? Now, I read the comments the other night in Boondocks, and everybody was saying that, you can go to Antarctica. So you could apparently go to Antarctica. But they said some parts of Antarctica are off limits. Why? Why are some parts off limit? Why are some parts of it's a rhetorical question. If I ask why is some parts of Area 51 off limits, right? And I ask these questions not because I don't know the answer. I'm asking these questions so a dialogue could be initiated. Because there's some of us that refuse to believe. But if you keep watching my channel, keep it up. Roderick Thornton said, you'll never be able to convince me. Silly words from a silly intellect. Because, my good sir, if I have information that you've never heard before, then if you are an intellectual, by law, you must consider the information I'm giving you. So you cannot make this determination yet. You don't know what I'm going to say. You think because I didn't say it yet? You'd never be able to convince me. Well, my job is not to convince you, so I'm in no rush to do so. But I think that statement is silly because out of your own volition, you listen to me faithfully. He said, I just listen to you because you're entertaining. Okay. Tell yourself whatever you need to get a good 8 hours sleep at night. However, there's no way to continue listening to me every day faithfully, sir, and leave the same. It doesn't happen like that. It just won't happen like that. Keep it up, and you're going to find out the good way. Huh? Your family won't even recognize you. You're gonna get banned from fucking family functions, fucking around. Knock it off. Either leave my show completely alone, or prepare to be transitioned. Because all I give you over here is truth over lies, my brother. Let us move on. As the 9 of us prepared to enter the tunnel, we made sure that we took enough ammunition and explosives to wage a small war. Like he said, that was their task. He walked into the darkness, or he says we walked into the darkness, and thankfully after hours we seen a light, but it was still a great distance away. Eventually we reached the vast cavern that was artificially lit. I wonder how. They keep saying it was artificially lit. How? That's on all of our minds. We were then led to where the survivors had witnessed the executions. Oy vey. The survivors stated it was as covert as one could possibly have wished for. As we looked over the entire cavern network, we were overwhelmed by the numbers of personnel scurrying about like ants. But what was impressive was the huge constructions that were being built. From what we were witnessing, the Nazis, it appeared, had been on Antarctica a long time. No duh. Who told you that? Your boy Saladin. I said that. I even mapped out the timelines for you to start to understand. Wait a minute. Germany been here. Yeah, they've been here. Nobody else been there like that. You could look that up. The scientist jotted down everything he could, drew diagrams, and took rock samples as well as the odd photograph. The Major, on the other hand, was more interested in how the base was to be destroyed without being caught by the Nazis' presence. Major's wild. He want a star. You got to give him a star if he get back. But how y'all not being seen? After 2 days of vigilant reconnaissance, the scientists and Major decided on the targets for the mines. The mines were to be placed all around the roof of the cavern, with other targets on the to-do list, such as the generator and the petrol dumps, and, if possible and attainable, the ammunition dumps. Throughout the day, mines were laid and more photos were taken, and with the odds of not being detected looking good, a hostage was taken, as well as proof of the Nazi base, the Polar Man, and photographs of new, quite advanced Nazi technology. When the mission to place the mines that would destroy the base had been accomplished, as well as substantial proof of the base gathered, we headed towards the tunnel. But alas, we were spotted. Oh, gas. And more of the Polar Men and a troop of Nazis gave chase. What? Upon reaching the tunnel, we needed to put an obstacle in the way to slow down our enemy long enough for the mines to detonate. Some mines were placed at the entrance to the tunnel, and when the explosions were heard, we were hopeful that not just the base had been comprehensively destroyed, but so too the enemy forces given chase. We were wrong. The mines did indeed close the tunnel, but those Nazis and Polar Men behind the chase was still on. In a fighting retreat, only 3 of the 10 escaped the tunnel. It's crazy. Only 3 of the 10? First of all, I thought 9 went in there. Am I reading this wrong? Where did 3 come from? As the 9 of us prepared to enter the tunnel. Okay, all of a sudden, it's 10. 3 of the 10 escaped the tunnel. The Norwegian, the scientist, and myself. Oh, what happened to the major? The rest had fallen gallantly in making sure that some of the party survived. I knew the major was going to make it out. He was too ambitious. He didn't have shit waiting at home. Jesus. Upon reaching the safety of the dry valley, enough mines were laid to close the tunnel permanently. After the mines were detonated, there was no evidence of any tunnel ever existing. Suspiciously, very little of the evidence unearthed remained. Whether it had been lost accidentally or purposely, it mattered little because the scientist had already made his and ultimately the mission's own conclusions. The camp was disbanded and we returned to Maudland Base, where we were evacuated and flown back to the safety of the Falkland Islands dependencies. Upon reaching South Georgia, we were issued with a directive that we were forbidden to reveal what we had seen, heard, or even encountered. The tunnel was explained away as nothing more than a freak of nature. Glacial erosion was the scientist's specific term. The Polar Men were nothing more than unkept soldiers that had gone crazy. Jesus. The fact that they were German was never submitted into the report, and any notion of the mission going public was firmly refuted. The mission would never be made official, though certain elements of the mission were to be leaked to the Russians and to the Americans. So, my last Christmas of World War II was spent on Antarctica continent in 1945, fighting the same Nazis that I had fought against every Christmas in 1940. There's more? Jesus. There's a lot. I don't know if I'm reading all of this. Probably not. Because I want to get to something else. I want to get back to my slides. But I had to read that. Now, back to my slides. So, let's not get out of focus. Let's remember the timelines, right? So this is 1943 that this Operation Tambourine had took place. Right? So let's just use our intellect. 1947, the United States sends 5,000 armed troops to Antarctica. After hearing that story, you tell me, good sir, why they would not just go out there like they've been going out there with just your boy Admiral Byrd and some Bahama shorts, and you understand? He went out with it with the bare minimum. They sent him out there with the bare minimum every time. Yet this time, I swear to you, they went out there with like 13 ship. Close that door for me, babe. They went out there with like 13 ships, 13 plane carrier, 33 plane carriers, right? So they didn't go out there to mess around. And yet, 2 times before they did, 1943, Operation Tamarind takes place, and 1947. But before we get to 1947, now let's get into some real history that took place, because I want you to understand what's happening. United States steals its deal with Operation Sunrise. Okay, let's talk. Get your pens, people. Get your pens. Operation Sunrise, right? Now I'm going to explain to you what happened. I already explained to you what was called the Allied Powers, right? Now, this is where things start to make sense. This is where things start to make sense. And you're like, oh shit, I see what's happening here. At the Tehran conference, don't ask me why this conference took place in Tehran, but it did. There was a conference in Tehran in 1943 and later reaffirmed at Yalta in 1945. The United States, United Kingdom, and the Soviet Union do you believe in? Yeah. The core Allied powers, right? So we learning here. It's called Allied powers, right? Formally agreed. Now, this was an actual conference, y'all. I'm explaining history to you. 1943, the Allied powers got together and they formally agreed that no member would negotiate a separate peace with Nazi Germany and that all surrender arrangements would be coordinated and transparent among the Allies. This understanding was meant to prevent Germany from exploiting divisions between the powers, ensure a unified military strategy, and preserve post-war trust while Europe was being reshaped. The agreement reflected an uneasy but necessary pact. Despite deep ideological differences, the Allies committed, right? So even though all of them kind of thought differently, leave it up to United States propaganda. You know, Russia probably thinks the most different and ridiculous out of all the three. And yet, they was on board with this. At the time, Russia believed every word at this agreement. They had no reason not to, right? Because they did not speak about this once. It's not like they came and spoke about this once. They came and spoke about this twice. And it was like, yo, so this is what everyone's on board? Word. I said that the last time we met. I'm not cutting a deal with these motherfuckers, bro. They didn't went too far, right? So Stalin is like, yeah, okay, that's good to hear, because I'm not cutting the deal, right? Britain's like, all right, we will not cut a deal. Nobody's cutting a deal, allegedly. And they was going to act together, and they was going to be transparent. And the whole time, the United States is trying to snake niggas out of shit. You see that guy down there with the pipe? That's fucking Alan Dulles. Not to be played with. He comes from a very wealthy family. Listen, you got to be careful about rich, wealthy white men, because they may not know how to like throw hands like that, but they are rich, wealthy white men. So they know how to put a bag on your fucking head, and they definitely know how to get what they want. Right? So he may not be able to fight you one-on-one in the bathroom and win, but he does know how to annihilate your whole fucking lineage if he ever gets out that bathroom. You understand? That part. So Alan Dulles he comes from a wealthy family, but at the same time, he could have been anything he wanted to be. He was a fucking spy master. A spy master. And a good one. Not better than Henry Kissinger, but definitely the second best. Definitely the second best. So, Operation Sunrise. In 1945, Alan Dulles was the Office of Strategic Service Chief in Switzerland, leading a secret negotiation known as Operation Sunrise with Nazi German Commander Karl Wolff in Italy to arrange their early surrender, a pivotal move that ultimately saved lives and paved the way for final German surrender to America and avoid whatever awaited their fate with the Russians. So, like I said, some of these cats without ridiculous fucking mustaches figured, wait, I'm a handsome chap. I'm not hideous like this fucking freak. What am I doing? What am I even doing in this outfit? Right? He's coming too. He's probably on some fucking crazy drugs. He's coming too. Like, wait a minute. We can't win this. What? You're fighting Russia, Brittany. You definitely can't win, bro. So now they start cutting deals. You see how confident fucking Alan looked, right? He don't got a concern in sight. He knows that you know that he knows that you know that you can't win. You cannot win. They want to cut a deal. 1945. Look, it's still not 1947 yet, is it? It's still not 1947 yet, is it? It's 1945. And in fact, who is off, took off to the races to try to get to Antarctica first? Fucking Britain. See? They already started snaking each other. So, my question is to you. Still, same question. What was so important in Antarctica? If only snow is out there, what the fuck are they investing all these millions for, going out there, all these putting people's lives in danger? Now, Britain was bullshitting around with sending a few guys out there. But guess what? United States, 1947, they not messing around, Jack. They sent 5. So whatever they heard, they not about to get eaten by some fucking snowman. That's ridiculous. For an American to be get eaten by an abominable snowman. Even if this abominable snowman is real, I'm not going out like that. I'm from America, bitch. We don't get eaten by abominable. It's just shit we don't do. And getting eaten by an abominable snowman is number 1 on the list. Never am I getting eaten by an abominable snowman. Fuck out of here. And I'm from New York. You're bugging on my thugging. Get out of here. Now, this is how it went down. And this is all history. You can look on everything I'm saying up right now. General George S. Patton invades secret German lab. Uh-oh. Shit is it's about to get crazy. In mid-April 1945, General George S. Patton was headed to Berlin. General Eisenhower commanded him to halt and change direction. Don't go there. Go to Pilsen, Czechoslovakia. What was in Pilsen, Czechoslovakia? Skoda Works. Skoda Works. Look up Skoda Works. Skoda. So Allen Dulles had told Eisenhower of secret developments in technology that existed there. How would Allen Dulles know that? If you've been paying attention, you know because of Operation Sunrise, right? Both in April. This is both in April. So he gets this information from who? Carl Wolf. Traitor. But don't worry. The United States will give this traitor a nice life later on. Don't even worry about it. Even though the textbooks say that otherwise. Oh, he spent the rest of his days in Germany walking around playing pocket pool near schools. What? What happened? I didn't say anything. In mid-April 1945, General George S. Patton was headed to Berlin. General Eisenhower commanded him to halt. Don't go there. Go to Czechoslovakia to Skoda Works. Allen Dulles had told Eisenhower of secret developments in technology that existed there. Patton arrived 6 days before the Russians. But Kammler was gone. Now we know Kammler, Hans Kammler. We know him to be the civil engineer, but what do we know him mainly for? For being the psychopath that was in charge of getting all these white slaves together to do all type of grueling work. Now, that is Renato Vesco up top. He's Italian. He has a book that's called Intercept UFO. In this book, he says that much of the German blueprints, company papers, lists of researchers, laboratory models, memorandum reports, and notes have all been discovered by many of the Allied powers, enemy invaders, which would have been the United States. Right? So, from that moment, because Skoda Works was really the place where, while Germany was there in power, they was doing a lot of work on these aircrafts, these anti-gravity aircrafts. They was building a lot of stuff at Skoda Works. When the people took off, I don't know why they didn't burn this shit. They left most of the shit right there at Skoda Works. And the United States came in and scrapped all that shit up. So it is logically assumed that the invading forces understood where the anti-gravity technology had originated. Yes, Uncle Andy, we on the same fucking frequency, bro. That is exactly what I said when I couldn't even believe that the shit was called Skoda Works. Word is born. I said, what is it called? Skoda. I said, why Skoda sound like skunk? And even if it's not, y'all do the same fucking thing. Y'all do the same thing. So one was called Skoda Works and the other one is called Skunk Works? You gotta be shitting me. This cannot be history, and yet it is. I wish I was making this shit up. I swear to God, I wish I was making this up. And I'm not. And yet I'm here on YouTube telling you the truth. What the crazy. The original Skunk Works. Crazy, bro. All right. So now we can get to what you guys know as Operation Paperclip, but originally it was called Operation Overcast. So, in fact, if you look at the dates, Allen Dulles was already working something out with the Nazi retractors. But the official program wasn't established
until July 1945, as U.S. forces began capturing German scientists at the end of the European War. The operation was renamed Operation Paperclip in November 1945. Now let's just stop right there. And let me ask you, what would you have done? What would you have done? Because remember, in April, you already went to Skoda Works and got all of this fucking paperwork, and you could see the formulas, and you could see, wait a minute, these motherfuckers got anti-gravity machines? The fuck? Literally. Not what the fuck, like the fuck? Y'all got going on over here. Now, what would you do? Let's keep it 1,000. You're not going to kill these people anyway. You're not going to kill them either. You're going to do exactly what the United States did, which is offer them some free housing, a Lincoln Town car, a modest salary, and access to a laboratory 24/7. Because that's what they really want. And to stay alive. And to destroy people's lives, right? Because let's be honest, that whole MK Ultra shit didn't really kick off until we let them over here to continue their ridiculous ways, right? So, the United States did compromise. We're not going to sugarcoat that. And I'm not saying I would have brought them over here so that we could get into all type of stupid shit like MK Ultra. Right? That would make us a little bit off too, which apparently we are. And by we, I mean them. The heads of the United States, you know, why would you do this? President Harry S. Truman gave an official approval in the 1946. It still ain't 1947 yet. It still ain't 1947 yet. You understand me? You understand. You don't understand me yet. You understand me. You see? Because I'm going to keep asking you, why would you send 5,000 people over to Antarctica when you was just sending a dude over there in a fucking tank top a second ago? Now you sent him. Now, not only did you send him, you gave him a little bit more prestige. You understand? You bumped him up in rank. You gave him a triple fat goose finally. He's over there in thermals. So you had 45. 45 is what? Operation Sunrise, right? 45. You had 45, July 45, which is Operation Paperclip. You have 46 when President Truman is like, listen, I don't give a fuck what you guys are talking about. These German Nazis stay. It's good for America. The end. My question to you is, what information did America get from these Nazi deflectors? That made them say, yo, we got to go to Antarctica, bro. But we going over there ready for war. Obviously, they was having some type of... There's 1,600 people that we let over here. And probably more than that. The main influx of German scientists and relocation effort occurred from 1945 throughout about 1947. But the related recruitment and settlement continued into the early 1950s. God. And beyond, as German experts were integrated into U.S. military and technological programs. I wish I was joking about this shit, and I wish this wasn't real history, but it is. And can I take a side? Let's stop right here for me to shit on my own race for a second, because they hate when I do that, right? Somebody told me the other day, oh yeah, I need to be curb stomped. Nigga, I will fucking kill your whole family. You're bugging talking to me like that. You're bugging. My nigga, you're bugging. Your whole family. But it's probably somebody young who thought it was a game like K-Flock, and K-Flock just caught a what? 25, 35 years? Over what? Nothing. Right? So you would get on the internet and say stupid shit to Jamel Saladin because I want you to gravitate towards math and science. You would get mad at me because I want you to be less of a Neanderthal and an ignoramus and more of a conscious thinker and use mathematics and the sciences to carve your way in life. We just watch fucking Nazis do it. Now, why can't you or us or we become the strongest version of intellect in the fucking world? Why must we continue to perpetuate and praise ignorance? And because I use my show to push a different message, you would have the audacity. Nigga, do you know I have FBI friends? I will look your handle up. I won't even have to touch you. Have your silly ass yeah, I'm on that snitch shit, nigga. Have your silly ass arrest, and I'm pressing charges. Yeah, you said what? Yeah, they found out this is you. This is you. Do you want to press charges or not, Mrs. Saladin? You fucking right. There's a bear shit in the woods. Put this motherfucker away. Put him away. Talking shit. Thought you think you cute? Hope you catch a good 5. I'm fighting. I'm coming to court every day, nigga. Don't think I'm taking off. I'm not going to take off. I'm there every day. Oh, you on that snitch shit? You're goddamn right. You was talking reckless to me when all I wanted was the best for you. I wanted you to stop getting low-hanging fruit. Our music is talking about death and selling drugs. To this fucking day, I turn it on just to hear what you niggas is talking about. You still talk about selling crack like this is the fucking 80s. It is the year 2025 of your fucking Lord. Your mother didn't raise you like this. Or maybe she did. Either way, you are worthless in society. We cannot listen. If you're going to sell your little stuff, then you sell it and you shut up, nigga. And you do that until you find a way to get out of that situation. That is not a long-term plan. That is a temporary situation for you to get in, get out, and move on to something else. Dare you fix your fingers to come over here and talk that stupid shit. Keep it up. Keep it up. Now, we watched these German Nazis basically, we could say most of these guys in this picture are soon to be fucking bad people in life. And yet, here they fucking take a picture like this is Harvard University. Right? They're out here in the fucking
The quarter zips. Look. They got on the quarter zips and ties. As if they are model citizens. You guys were doing the worst shit on this planet.
That's crazy. Either way, we get into 1947, right? Now is it building up? Now are you seeing what's happening? The United States is getting this information. They made they snaked fucking Russia out. Russia, that's why Russia's upset. So if you're watching the show, you want to know why the fuck Russia's so upset. This is why Russia's so upset. They made a pact, not once, but twice. Once in Tehran, and the next time, where else did they make this pact at? Yalta. Once in 1943, and the second time in 1945. And USSR asked them again, so you sure everybody's on the same page? Britain said, yeah, we on the same page. United States said, yeah, we on the same page. Neither one of these motherfuckers was on the same page, and they went for dolo. These are some of the names that we got. They brought over to the United States. Werner von Braun. He was an implementer in rocket engineering. Chief designer of the V-2 rocket. Leader of NASA's Saturn V program. That could be you, black man. Huh? That could be you. If you stop fucking around praising dumb shit. Work out a deal. You gotta have something to offer though. Huh? These people was out here killing their own kind just like you are, right? Can't even go to a decent nightclub without you showing up to the nightclub wishing a nigga would, trying to put somebody down that night. Only for you to go to the judge and say some dumb shit like, Your Honor, I wasn't raised, I have a good old childhood and all this stupid shit. You dressing in quarter zips, trying to look like a nerd doing the whole... No. You was just talking that other shit just a second ago. I heard you. You was talking that real nigga shit, stupid shit. This could be you, black man. God damn. They was out here killing their own kind. And the United States cut out a deal. Why did they cut out a deal? Because these motherfuckers were smart. I worked for a company. I keep telling you that. Right? I worked for a billionaire. I didn't say a millionaire, dickhead. I said a billionaire. I worked for a billionaire. That's him right there. And I found out what being smart would get you. A guy that I was working with was so damn smart. He used to get fucking pissy drunk at the office. Did they fire him? No. Part of the blame is on the job. They used to let us drink at the job. I know. It sounds nuts. You're like, you could drink at your job? Yes, nigga, we could drink. But they assumed that we would be able to handle our own alcohol and make the right decisions. And if it was anybody else, we would have been fired. But him, he was so smart. He had came in the company, reverse engineered the whole shit, and went up to and explained everything to them. They never fired him. He walked around there drunk all the time. One time he smashed the fucking wall because he stumbled off and went into the wall. I watched him because he did it in front of my cubicle and then laid out on the floor. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then I didn't see him for a while. He wasn't fired. He was still in the chats, huh? He was still in the Slack fucking conversations. They just told him to work from home. Damn. Now that's how smart you want to be. We are impenetrable. They can't even do nothing with you, but just stay home. We'll still pay you. God. Arthur Rudolph engineering production, V-12 production. Key developer of the Saturn V stage. Later, U.S. citizenship later revoked due to war crimes. Damn, Arthur. Arthur caught the bad end of the stick on that, huh? Walter Dornberger, advisor to U.S. missile programs, later worked on the Bell aircraft. Kurt Debus, first director of NASA's Kennedy Space Center. Man, this is crazy. This is nuts. Huh? Hubertus Strughold, aerospace medicine, linked to the human experimental programs, probably the Human Genome Project. Became known as the father of space medicine, influenced astronaut life support systems. Kurt Blom, biological warfare, deputy of the Reich Health Official's plague research. So not only did we take the technological research from these people, we also took their biological warfare. And here's the thing. Yeah. Here's the thing. Whatever we learn, this is what I get. I get pissed off at. Whatever we learn, for whatever strange reason, we like to use it on our own people. Allegedly. I don't want YouTube to fucking snatch my video. You understand? It's right here. Careful. Thank you. You can disagree, but whatever Fauci just did, it doesn't help your argument, right? All right, so let's get to Stromberger's idea of implosion in the vortex dynamics. Victor Stromberger, 1885 to 1958, was an Austrian forester, inventor, natural philosopher known for his unconventional theories about energy, water, and natural motion. He believed that nature operated through implosion and vortex dynamics rather than explosion and combustion, and claimed that these principles could be harnessed for clean energy and advanced propulsion. During the Nazi period, his ideas extracted interest from German authorities, and he was compelled to work on experimental projects involving fluid dynamics. Now, let me explain what's going on here. Victor's work, again, I explained in the beginning of my video, I think that the United States was preoccupied with greed and being driven by capitalism. And it got our interest off of becoming great intellectuals. And part of the reason was a fucking maniac called John D. Rockefeller, who openly admitted it. He had so much power, he said he didn't want a nation full of workers, thinkers. He wanted a nation full of workers. He said this. Well, if we would have had a nation full of fucking thinkers, then we could compete with the Germans. But because we was so much concerned about slave labor of the black man and, taking advantage of the yellow man and killing the red man, pacifying the poor white man, These people didn't care about nobody but themselves, and it continues to put us in a bad predicament. Every move we have made, it's still the same story, right? We're still borrowing money from private banks and filtering it through the Federal Reserve to give to fucking other countries, so we have to pay the interest on that. Same shit. We're still up to no good, even years later. And these Germans were way ahead of their time. During the Nazi period, his ideas attracted the interest from the German authorities. So what the Germans did is they came in, and I'm not saying that Victor Schauberger was a Nazi, but he had no fucking choice but to work for the Nazis once they come in and they say, once the Third Reich really takes over, right, you either get down or you lay down. So more than likely, he was doing some work at the Skoda Works, and he was doing work, and the Nazis were taking full advantage. And he was compelled to work on experimental projects involving fluid dynamics. Schauberger later stated that his concepts were misunderstood, misused, and forcibly extracted from him. And I, for one, believe him. After the war, he struggled financially, of course you did, and intellectually, as mainstream science dismissed his work. Well, they dismissed his work not because it was untrue. They dismiss his work because they're going to take it and they're going to use it for what they want to. And just like Nikola Tesla, you will die as a delusioned, broke, poor soul. And guess what? You're a white man, right? So I say that because it had nothing to do with whether he was white or black. They didn't care that he was white. They didn't care. That's what I try to tell you all the time. They make us get heated over these white and black, but the elite really don't give a fuck, bro. They don't care about none of that. All y'all can die, as far as they concerned. All y'all. You are here to work, and they are here not to work. Right? And they don't want to work, and they don't want their family to work. They don't give a shit who does it, right? I have to talk like that so that somebody from my demographics gets inspired to say, you know what? I hate Saladin because he's right. He's always talking that shit, but in actuality, he's right. And if I see him, I'm going to ask for the fade. And I know he will give it to me. And you're fucking right. Just ask for it. Don't. Whatever. After the war, he struggled financially and intellectually as mainstream science dismissed his work. He died disillusioned, believing humanity had ignored nature's true laws. This fucking guy was good, bro. Victor Schauberger argued that nature moves energy inward, not outward. In contrast to modern technology, engine turbine explosions, which rely on expansion, heat, and pressure, he believed that nature uses cooling, spiraling, and contraction to create order, energy, and life. At the center of his thinking was the vortex, a spiraling motion found in rivers, blood flow, galaxies, weather systems. Schauberger observed that when fluids move in a logarithmic spiral, not straight lines, they cool, densify, and self-organize, gaining energy efficiency instead of losing it in friction and heat. He called this inward moving process implosion, not a collapse, but a coherent inward acceleration. In his view, implosion concentrates energy, enhancing vitality, and produces lift or propulsion with minimal resistance, whereas explosion dissipates, dissipates. I don't know where all these fucking syllables were coming from. Dissipates energy, creates heat, and leads to decay. Schauberger believed that if machines mimic these vortex-based implosive motions, they could move water or air with almost no energy loss, generate lift without combustion, produce cooling instead of heat. Let me say you this. I believe they're using Schauberger's technology, and we may not even see, right? This is when we got to go back to Skunk Works. We don't see everything they got there. Do you guys realize and I'm talking to the skeptics right now, for the people that say I don't believe in that shit, I don't believe in extraterrestrial. Do you realize that the United States, added I think 6th branch of military called the Space Force. Space Force is not a part of the Air Force, right? So what I learned in my research is that the Air Force was once part of the Army. It was the Army Air Force. It was just one. Then they separated it all together and just made it its own entity. So now it's the Air Force. Space Force, because it sounds like Air Force, and then because it's in space, cognitively you're going to think about the sky, and you're like, oh, that's part of the Air Force. Wrong. It has nothing to do with the Air Force. It's exactly what the fuck they said it is. Space Force. Have you looked? And this is a rhetorical question because you didn't even know it was a goddamn Space Force. But I'm going to ask it anyway. Have you looked at some of the positions in Space Force? Do you know? Like, what do you think? You know we got to have a budget for Space Force, right? Because they are actually a branch of military. What do you think they're doing and preparing for? Why would we need soldiers? It's a branch of military. The president has renamed this category to the Department of War. Why would we need artillery and an infantry for fucking space if there wasn't a threat that they knew about? You see? You think because you don't know about it, oh, the mainstream media didn't say it, so, Saladin, you're always on here, you're talking all this stuff that can't be proven, and nobody's going to take you seriously, man. What are you talking about? Your mother's going to take me serious. This is a fact. Angie said I'm still here. Yeah. Now, this is the end of my video because I already told you this, but I decided to put this in because I found this in the magazine called The Plain Truth in the June 1952 article. right? And you can go look this up too. But this is what they said in 1952. It says Hitler goes to Antarctica. Now new facts or purported facts leak out. It's reported now that in 1940 the Nazis started to amass tractors, planes, sledges, gliders, and all sorts of machinery and materials in the South Polar regions, that for the next 4 years Nazi technicians built on an almost unknown continent, Antarctica, right? Here's the thing. I don't need to read all of this to you because it's only going to tell you what. This was in an article in 1952. So what we already went over stuff where you're like, well, damn, we already know that. It means Saladin already went over it. Right? For the past, what? Hour and a half? We're doing good. Has to be more than that, right? No. I started at 6. Yeah, so we're going on 3 hours. That's the wrong time. We're going to 4 hours. So, let's do it like this. We got one more episode now, right? So we went over 2 episodes so far where I gave you a lot of information. First episode started in Germany, really started in Japan and Germany, right? And leading up. But I had to show you how these men that was involved in this movement had a esoteric agenda, right? They had secret societies and secret agendas and all this other stuff. They were driven by other forces, dark forces, if you will. Some people don't like for me to tell the history. They want me to tell the history without mentioning these things. How? How, Sway? How can I do that? It's not about what you want to hear. Trust me, most of the shit that's the problem. Most of the shit you hear is shit they know you want to hear. Or they know they could take advantage of you, right? You gotta remember, they cannot, it's too many of us to take a sword out and just do all at one time. So what they can do though is if they could get in your mind, they could try to control you from there, right? And for the most part, it does a great job. Because if people didn't believe they were going to hell, if they did something wrong, or if people didn't think they could get into heaven, this would be a crazier place. Like that's hands down. This would be a way more chaotic place. So I do appreciate some of these religions for keeping these people in line, because Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, Jesus, it would be crazy down here. But at the same time, it turns people into androids, and then they can't think. And this is not an Android channel. This is not an Android channel. By far. My last video for this series will be members only. I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow. I don't know when it's going to be. But it's going to be above top secret. And it's going to have to do with the United States. Right? So now we're going to get into the We're gonna get into the USSR. I'm not a USSR. We're gonna get into the Majestic 12. I pray that the light comes and saves me. What I'm saying is
'cause I swear I
Let me
would
get your
take
membership.
that ride this time to places I've dreamt about lately. Yeah, I got dreams in me too. Yeah, I pray that the light comes and saves me. 'Cause I swear I would take that ride this time to places I've dreamt about lately. I got dreams in me too. Oh my, I want, oh my, I want, oh my, I want for you and me. Oh my, I want,
I don't know what time.
I want,
Got a lot of research to do for that one. I just know I'm warning everyone. It will be members only. 'Cause I gotta cram so much information in that. I'll try to do something tomorrow. I can't promise you. You guys have a good night. You understand? And I'll see y'all when y'all see y'all. Peace out, man.